Michael Jordan is a master of the game. He led the Chicago Bulls to their first ever championship and was named the NBA's most valuable player. His miraculous ability to put the ball in the basket, however he shoots it, is awesome, even to him.
It just happens. It's just instinctively it happens, and I amaze myself.
A picture of chaos or a blueprint for success? Well, it's all relative, according to Nasir El-Rufai, a key ally of Nigeria's President Buhari, who this week accused the country's opposition party of plotting to emulate the crisis in Venezuela. In a televised interview, the governor of the northern state of Kaduna warned foreign nations against interfering in Nigeria's forthcoming general election.
We have a guy in the White House, I'm not going to say a name. It was a defining moment. It was not just for Americans, for the world. And that was given a chance to say we're about love and not hate. And that did not denounce the Klan, the alt-right, and those Nazi.
Like the saying about glass that's either half full or half empty, either is or is not in decline. The answer, of course, has a lot to do with whom you ask. Trump voters, defined as the anything is better than what we now have generation of voters, would say decline. Most bankers or Wall Streeters would tell you, hey, doing great, love America. Is America on its farewell tour? Well, that's the name of the Pulitzer Prize winning author Chris Hedges' most recent book. So Chris stopped by our studio this week, and I grabbed him and asked him what he means by farewell tour.
The system is...
Spike Lee turning his back on two top clothing designers.
The director angry over what he's calling blackface fashion fails. ABC's Kenneth Moten joins us with more on this personal boycott and other stars now joining the cause. Kenneth, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. For Spike Lee, it's about giving more black fashion designers a seat at the table. He's once again using his microphone to say if there were more, they would be able to keep fashion companies in check and cut down on racially insensitive incidents.
Police are trying to track down the person caught on camera robbing a church in Manhattan. Take a look at this surveillance image. The NYPD says the suspected thief stole 4 brass candlestick holders worth $3,000 inside St. Monica's Church on the Upper East Side. The candlesticks disappeared on the morning of January 30th. The suspect was last seen carrying a light blue suitcase.
And a question for all of the candidates as they're getting into the primary, Karun, is how do they take on Donald Trump, right? And the Mayor Pete Buttigieg approach to Trump versus the Elizabeth Warren approach to President Trump, which is ignore him or take him on directly. Which approach do you think wins out in the primary?
I mean, this is the big question for the Democratic Party, right? Which way are they going to go? They're not exactly a completely cohesive group. I don't think that you can completely ignore Donald Trump. He is everywhere. He is on television every 5 seconds. He is doing things that make the news all the time. So to pretend like you're not actually addressing him in this election is to kind of ignore where the gut of the Democratic Party is after the heartbreak of 2016 that they had. But, you know, to completely go further than you can actually substantiate necessarily by saying, oh, he's maybe not going to be a free person. I mean, the Mueller investigation has not gotten that far. The Democratic leaders in the House do not want to talk impeachment right now. So that may be just kind of throwing too much red meat out there. And clearly there's some sort of a happy middle, but we don't know who that's going to be or what it's going to sound like, because it's going to depend a lot on the candidate. And at this point, they're all making their pitches out there and seeing what sticks with which part of the base they hope to claim. They're not yet at the point where they're going to have to start answering, you know, and challenging each other. And that's where we're going to get to see, you know, really where they can kind of split the party.
On late night comedy, he recently introduced viewers to his grandmother in his hometown of Johannesburg to discuss his childhood under apartheid. His grandma said she used to be scared police would take Noah because he was a mixed race and interracial relationships were illegal.
Why did I give you a tough time, Google?
Because you wanted to play in the street, and I knew the flying squad was going to take me.
So if I was playing in the street, the police would have arrested me.
Yeah! You know there were kids.
Noah shares how his family kept him hidden in his memoir, Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood. The New York Times named it one of the top books of 2016. Trevor, no.
School shooting at a high school in Baltimore tonight. An armed man showing up in the lobby, shooting a hall monitor. Right here tonight, what happened next as that school went into lockdown. ABC's Stephanie Ramos is on the scene tonight.
Baltimore police got the call of the shooting just after noon.
Medicated response, Frederick Douglass High School, first shooting.
Police say a 25-year-old man entered the lobby of Frederick Douglass High School and shot a hall monitor in the lower torso. The school put on lockdown. Students and teachers hiding in classrooms.
It's crazy, man.
Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Hello and welcome to Black Minds TV, which is also Black Minds News. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind. And this channel is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, articulate, relay, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, websites, or quotes from publications. As I articulate these information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created the so-called greatest land in this, what we call the planet of the worlds, as a descendant of that, and you and I, we give honor to our ancestors. And you know what my motto is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. That's right, y'all. Trying to pump them, boy. Put one out, put another one out, and put another one out. You know why? Because behind the scenes, so much you don't understand. That's why I have the mantra that I always put on my marquee, that this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. And the only reason why that is, no one gets to know what I go through for a rinky-dink channel that they claim that only has 2.9 subscribers, been in the business for 7 years. Used to could get $250,000, 50,000, you know what I'm saying, 20,000, 15. Every time my numbers get high, the video gets banned worldwide. Why is that? First and foremost, let me say to the subscribers again, man, I like to say thank you. There are new subscribers coming in a pack, and I like seeing that. That means that I'm starting to, at least for the time being, because you know what they might just go ahead and do, or it could be just them fucking with a nigga, right? So anyway, want to welcome you, new subscribers, to the show. Old subscribers, we fam. So you know how we get down. I know. A couple of you out of read some messages, and yeah, I missed that too, right? Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's a little different when you're having us all in there, and I can get a chance to get a feed from y'all. Again, that's why. Let me tell it like this too. For those subscribers, again, who might have think that I didn't try to uphold my word. I try to keep my word as bond, right? Now, I did say I was trying to get people to get on the show. I was trying to do the phone call. But again, like I said, no one gets to see the behind the scenes and what it takes so much for me to even get a show off, right? And so, again, there's certain ways if you want to really communicate with me, you can always hit me at, as you see on your screen there. You see I got a Twitter account now, right? Say hashtag TV_BLAK. You can send that message to me. Again, we could converse back and forth about some things. You want to shoot some ideas to the channel, or again, I have a segment that I want to hear. There is a segment that I want to put onto the show that you heard a couple times that I had tried to inculcate a little bit. It's called Let the People Be Heard. Again, you can hit me at that hashtag TV_BLAK. So that way, if you should want to, again, you know, you can hit me also at the Dropping Serious Knowledge. Again, we'll set up a date. You can call in. I'll give you what it is, and you to give me your feedback of what you believe, and I can input it into the show. Other brothers out here who are giving me videos, again, It's not that I'm not trying to put that video in. I have to, again, when it comes to those certain topics, I will put it in. I got the list. Keep pumping them. I've seen them, right? So don't think, brother, that I'm not seeing you and I'm not hearing you. I'm looking at all that stuff you're giving too. But there's a little science to this, and that's why this is the most hated show, because the way of the science that I put together is in the game. It's in, you know what I'm saying? It's in the realm of the game. And in order for you to understand it, I would have to actually tell you it. But that is a secret sauce, that the way you have to do it in order for it to be legitimized. So again, keep giving it to me. I'm looking at them and anybody else. And once in a while, when I hit you up, whether it be brother or sister, it's not like on some, like I'm trying to holler, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, look, I may throw some videos from now on, certain things that I won't put on the show that I can't, because of a certain realm I have to. You will be getting messages and videos sent to you that I say, hey, check this out. Just part of being black news, okay? So anybody who don't want that, let me know. But otherwise, I will send it. Now, passerbyers, check this out. It's always a grand opening here on this show. You know why? Because it just is. You come by, go down the aisle, see something you like. You know how you go in the grand open the store, pick up something, go to the cashier, purchase it, which is giving me a like. If you have an issue with it, you dislike or comment saying how you don't like, what I'll do is I'll send my managers or my supervisor, they come holler at you a little bit, say, you know what I'm saying, we give you a discount, a coupon, hopefully give you an IOU, you know what I'm saying, maybe you come back again, and then you know what you can do. Maybe the next time you come and shop with us, you might get something that you like, and maybe we might be, you know, a avid customer, you know what I'm saying, because we aim to please. Agents, eventually, hey, wait a minute, hold on, my screen looking like it's saying February the 1st. I shouldn't be saying that, y'all. So let me go ahead and do that in prime real time, because that shouldn't be saying that. No, that shouldn't be saying that at all. Really, that should not be saying that. So let me change that, because again, it looked like on the screen it is showing that, and it should not be showing the 1st. It should be showing the 12th, right? So let me go ahead real quick. And once again, I want to appreciate everybody who, you know, again, that you take your time to even just sit and listen to a brother. Again, you got to remember that this show here kind of lays things out before it happens. You may not get it at the time, but again, remember, okay, so why is that not showing that then? Why is it showing a 1? That's funny. Right? Should be showing the 12 on there, because it got 12 in there, so I don't know why it's showing the 1. So let me do this and see something. All right, let's see if that does anything different. Okay, so anyway, so you know, on this show here, what I do is I give you things that will eventually fruition. That's the same thing when it came to a lot of the videos that I've done, right? A lot of my videos that I've done were ahead of its time. Right, so again, sometimes you may not understand that the fact that the way I do piecemeal, right, make a montage of a show and how it all correlates and connects, again, will be some things that, again, as you know, how news will always develop. And if you are a person who avidly reads and see how things develop, you can actually foretell the future. So again, I'm appreciative that those who are coming in, who are watching the show, and thank you so much. Again, this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. So let's get into the show for today. Now, you know, a lot of people gonna have their issues again, right? You know, because that's just what it is. You know, the debate has always been who is the greatest when it comes to the NBA, right? You got today's generation with the LeBron James. You have those who are Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Now, depend again, if you only see one half of the story, and then you are only to get the video of another aspect of the story, can the person who only gets the video really determine to, you know, put it in the real proper perspective of being in the moment? I think you can, but then you might be blinded for the simple fact, again, because the way that this country teaches that the old, right, that when you're younger, that you don't respect the old, that the old don't have nothing to give, and that they just in the way, you can't do, I'm the new thing. Okay. But again, you know, when you understand game, you know what I'm saying, you got to sit at the foot of somebody who got game to get game. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be out here and acquire game through your trials and, you know, mishaps and faults and failures. I'm not saying that is a sum total of what you end up coming to an equation. And sometimes it takes longer for certain people because, again, everybody not as quick and fast as other people, right? And so normally game is given from passed down from that who, again, what they say, that word mentor, right? But a mentor, when you look at that historically and look at Alexander and what that really means, that could be some kind of like saying, people say agape, right? Agape, they say, oh, it means love, but what kind of love? What kind of love are they talking about when they saying agape, right? So a lot of people would use that, but again, when you trace that and find out that that's some kind of other love, right? So anyway, this came up, and again, I know this being February, about 5 days from today will be Jeffrey Jordan's birthday, and not so much that, again, because I mean, as a person who right, got it in, right, and did all that good stuff, right, I can respect the game, right. And a lot of people will have aspects of what they don't believe as the man, because again, they say, well, being part of ADOS, BADOS, or right, so the ADOS, however you want to, categorize it and title it. Some people will say, well, with that kind of power and stature, we think you could have done a lot more, right? But again, everybody not cut for everything, right? And so first, let me go ahead and play this video because they had it out there. And again, I give it to you, and then we'll come back. Let's go ahead and get it in. See how this work out.
Michael Jordan is a master of the game. He led the Chicago Bulls to their first ever championship and was named the NBA's most valuable player. His miraculous ability to put the ball in the basket, however he shoots it, is awesome, even to him.
It just happens. It's just instinctively it happens, and I amaze myself as much as I try to, or as much as I amaze everyone else.
Jordan makes almost $11 million a year, only about a third of which comes from playing basketball. Where he really cashes in is with commercial endorsements.
Better get your whole grain.
I bet eat my Wheaties.
In a time when sports figures keep finding themselves in the midst of scandal, here's one athlete who's the darling of Madison Avenue. They portrayed him as a child's best friend.
Like Mike, if I could be like Mike.
Education's biggest supporter.
Don't be stupid. Stay in school.
And a parent's bundle of joy.
Think Mom would like me in these? Maybe.
And as if there's not enough of Michael Jordan to go around, he's even been turned into a cartoon superhero. Michael Jordan seems almost too good to be true, and he knows it.
That's probably one of the disadvantages of being a role model for so many, is that every move you make, it's got to be the right move. And if it's the wrong move, then it can be misinterpreted in the wrong manner.
I went to Chicago to see him, curious to know, does Michael Jordan the man live up to Michael Jordan the role model? Everything I found out about him says yes. This is, after all, someone who, after going pro, spent summers to finish his college degree.
I was very fortunate that my parents really taught me what was right and what was wrong.
His mom and dad still follow him to games, just as they did while he was growing up in North Carolina. He's a very private man who keeps his wife and two small boys out of the limelight. To Michael, basketball isn't everything. You have do a lot of charity work.
I started receiving criticism for not giving back enough, and I guess maybe that's due to because I don't publicize a lot of things that I try to do in terms of giving back to the community. It's just something that I don't seek publicity for.
The Michael Jordan Foundation, run by his mother, has made a big impact on the many children's charities it supports.
When you focus and achieve, always try to pick up the underdog and help them to believe.
Michael believes so strongly in the power of education, he's even endowed his old high school, Laney, in Wilmington, North Carolina, with an annual college scholarship. After all, it's where he got his first jump on the competition. I bet you never thought you were going to see me on the other end of this bar. But actually, a lot of us grew up playing basketball when we were kids. I played for 9 years competitively in my home state of Georgia. Sad thing is, not all of us could go on to become basketball stars. And in high school, it's tough to tell who's going to make it and who's not.
You know who Leroy Smith is?
No.
He's the last guy to make my high school basketball team.
One of Michael's favorite stories is about Leroy Smith and how he, not Michael, made the varsity team their sophomore year in high school. At the time, Leroy was 6'7", and Michael, even though he was as competitive as he is today, stood only 5'9".
He was just hurt, and I said, you don't give up. You go back in there and you try again. You don't give up, you know, you give it your all.
It helped me deal with a lot of things, and I matured at that time, and I've just continued to look back on those situations and prosper in life today.
Michael Jordan won a gold medal in the 1984 Olympics and is committed to playing the Summer Games next year in Barcelona. But he still has an Olympic dream for his close friend, Magic Johnson. I know he still dreams of playing in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's the only dream that's eluded him in his whole career, which, you know, his career's been unbelievable, but I think that's something that he would have come out of retirement to do.
I just want to say that I'm going to miss playing, and I will now become a spokesman for the HIV virus.
He's very strong individually, and he was a lot stronger than I was when he actually told me, and that really helped me overcome what he was actually telling me.
The day I talked with Michael, this book began making the rounds. It's a gossipy chronicle of a year in the life of the Chicago Bulls, accusing him of not being a team player and demanding special treatment.
The book is basically something, it's for profit, but this is one of the negative things that I say, that you have to look at it in a positive sense. You know, you just continue on down the road as you have, and it's not going to affect me. I just hope it doesn't affect us as a team, and I don't think it will. Good or bad, you know, just accept life as it comes, you know, and try to enjoy it as much as possible.
All right, so we have there Michael Jeffrey Jordan, born February 17, 1963. Also has the initial, is known by MJ, right? And so again, a lot of people will dispute whether it is the man or the basketball, where there's a split as to what a lot of people may have, you know, hold a place with Michael Jordan, right? And so, because they brought that up, because again, it's closing in on his birthday, so I guess that's why they put that out there. And again, I was searching for some things. Again, once in a while, I like to, you know, throw in a little something. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes if I just give it to you, sir, some people, you know, it's like being in classroom, somebody teaches something and you're just talking and you nod and go to sleep, right? So, you know, once in a while, I got to put something that spices it up. And for an individual, again, I can relate to the simple fact that, sports in this country is kind of like a religion. You have people who can recite stats, whole bibliographies on individuals, and I mean, just know their life, right? I think it got a lot to do with all this entertainment and Hollywood, and there's a lot of people who are very astute when it comes to that kind of so-called knowledge, right? Frivolous knowledge, as they say, right? But again, there are lanes that kind of information can be lucrative and can be a career, right? And so I look at this as a moment just to look at the simple fact, when we look at all these athletes, because again, there's a video, and I won't touch that video, but I'm going to use this here to talk about it. There's that video where you see there is he's a brother, right? And they're sitting down at a table and they're having a toast with, again, he's saying just getting married, right? Again, I'm not really, because again, there's something you need to look at that. But in the case of that, again, I done talked about it before, because again, I actually touched on Michael Jordan's father, right? Remember, we talked about how Daniel Green said he never had done that, right? And I kind of like, maybe he didn't do it according to his story, but again, we weren't there. So again, there's some more development coming on that as time go on that will be revealed. So again, let's look at it from this way, because again, like I said, the dichotomy here is a lot of people will look at Michael Jordan as to his basketball prowess, right? You know, there's a debate with the more, you know, now generation versus those who got a chance to see both. Now, it's not saying that those who are the now generation, who are actually, because of YouTube and the way videos can now be, you know, displayed out here, that you can't go back and go through the archives and actually watch an individual and see what they done, read the stats, right? Get some of the highlights and actually some of the games, right? But I think it's a little bit different when you are there present in the moment when it's all taking place. Like you can see like the shot, like they showed the one in Utah. You can watch the video and see what manifests, but it was different when you was there, when it was in the moment, when you had watched the whole game and then that moment came, when it was at Cleveland and all, right? And again, it doesn't take away from the fact that, again, I will, again, give LeBron his due. But again, there's a different gear. And the reason why there's a different gear is because that it was a different time and era. Physicality was part of sports, right? I mean, even if you look at football, how now you can't touch the quarterback. A quarterback will get his ass broke the fuck up back in the day. And I don't mean way, way back in the day. Shit, going back even way, way back in the day, helmets was being cracked open. You get what I'm saying? They didn't even have a full helmet. They had on some padded shit. So, you know, I wonder what the concussion was like. But again, that was before a lot of brothers was in there. And then when Jim Brown get in there, right, running, white boys ain't got a chance, right? But anyway, so what you see is that individuals like Michael Jordan, individuals like that other brother that did the toast and the rest of them that was around him, let's look at it from this standpoint. Okay, you come from where I come from, right? You come from the hood, right? And we come out of certain environments. Again, Biggie said it, either you got a wicked jump shot or you slinging crack rock, right? And that's not for everybody, but again, meaning there is the talent. Either you have the ability, that you have a gift that you done honed, that you can find an avenue to get yourself either some education or take it to another level to make some, you know, money professionally, or you don't have, you have that. Now, again, don't get me wrong. There are some of our brothers, and yet I'll say some sisters too, not to exclude you, that had that ability. But again, schooling is not for everybody. See, that's one thing. It's not that everybody don't need some type of education, but to say that everybody is to be a student would be lying. Some people, that's just not their thing. That don't mean that they're not smart in other avenues, or no, again, some people can learn by just observation and be masters at it. And there's some people who had to, you know, have to be more technical and have to be, what they say, rote, right? They have to learn it in that way to get the right answers, right? So everybody have different ways of how they, you know, learn. But see, when the system is trying to make a people disenfranchised, then of course you're going to make it in a way that is not most feasible. It's more foreign. Even though we have been here for hundreds of years, that don't still mean that, again, the natural way that we are is still different from, even though we're in a country we've been here. The way that the white man thinks, the way he moves, is still different. We're still different. But again, it's like everybody kind of act like that's not a reality. But that is the truth. We are still different people regardless of how long we've been around you. We do things different. We see things different. You understand? People will say culture, but we're just different peoples, period. Now, the point I'm trying to make is with these two is you get brothers and sisters from these environments that come from people, again, black people have only been in part of the system for 50. All right, let's put it this way. When Michael Jordan was born, he was not, the black people were not considered civil rights and free. Think about that. Civil rights don't come to 2 years later after him, right? So if Michael Jordan is about to be 56 years old, right? Is 50? Yeah, 56, right? He about to be 56 years old, right? Black people only been in this system about 54 years, right? Going on 54 years, right? So that means there was a lot of developing, a lot of understanding that had to be going on. Yes, black people were going to college and so forth, but again, you're still trying to integrate your system to be acceptable. A lot of that paper bag test and white enough and passing had a lot to do, even if you had an education. Let's stop lying, right? You still had to pass, or you had to be non-threatening. So generations now, we're getting into the 50s and 60s, right? Again, there was a compromise that happened after all that manifests in the 60s. So it became about getting jobs, right? And so people were working in factories and making cars and, you know what I'm saying, thriving, being able to take care of family. But again, black people were not politically astute. We're just getting in the game. First, 68 was the first election. Then you got 68, and then you got 72 and 76 and 80, 84, 88, 92, 96. You know what I'm saying? 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2000. Think about that. That was a short run, right? But this country been here for over 200 some years, 300 some years, right? 200 years, right? 200 and a half, right? So, but black people only been in this for a little bit. So again, we still don't know all the ins and outs because we're still learning this game, right? Now, so here it is that you got people coming up out of these environments, and the high probability of getting somebody out of them environments and having their parents, if they got parents or parent, and to be knowledgeable about, again, now if you in high school and you done developed and got where scholarship is coming, right? Then they coming to you, they giving you promises and so forth. And then, okay, all right, it's shit. Parents look like, I wasn't going to be able to pay for your ass to go to school, so somebody giving you a scholarship, take your ass on over there, right? Okay. Now let's look at that. Let's say if you come from a parent or you come out of a situation independent, you are a byproduct of your parents. Now, if your parents are the go along, get along, or white man ain't shit, those are the two choices you got. Either it was go along, get along, or white man ain't shit. It's going to be some of your upbringing, right? So let's say you got go along, get along. So that means that, again, by your inbredness of that, when somebody else, a coach, becomes a surrogate father. And so he's already inculcating him, now, whether he a brother, most likely he might have been a white man. Well, if he a white man, he sure going to keep inculcating on you how to move and be successful in that system. Now, another brother might be in there, and he might be the same way, go along, get along. He going to make you so you can be acclimated in. Rarely did you find too many real brothers that were coaches. Well, where you going with this, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Be patient now. Be patient. Lesson learning. So if you get brothers that come out of these environments and then they go to high school, got a coach, right? So a lot of times, again, that's a lot of practice, time away, still honing skills, going to open gyms, playing in, different kind of summer leagues, and right, always hooping. You ain't really in the hood like you should be, right? You there again, you got neighborhood park, tournaments and all that. It's not part of the hood. And matter of fact, as an athlete, you have a different kind of pass, right? You got a different kind of pass when you in those spots, right? Because you might be known because you have the potential, right? So you might be a little bit hands off, right? So anyway, so you have that, and then so they got AAU and all these other things that are keeping you acclimated into basketball, and you're around other men who are supposedly coaches who are grooming you and prepping you and get you ready. So you go 4 years in high school, get to college, you got 4 years of that, right? And again, according to where you came from, they may not have preached in your household that understanding about certain things, about who you're dating, and you know, and how to self-preserve of oneself. So a lot of times, again, you only got a scholarship. You don't got no real money coming from home. So, you know, you kind of struggle a bit. You get the 3 hots in the cot. You get the free meals. You know, you get a little hamburgers here and there. But again, you kind of need some extras. So what end up happening, you end up getting you some Becky, right? You get you a Becky. Becky got credit card. Becky got car. Becky give you, you know, everything you want, right? And so you fall in love with Becky because where you come from, Becky wasn't even accessible like that, depending on where you come from, where I'm from, right? So now you have a whole different perspective of life compared to where you actually are derived from. So here it is that you manifest and you catapult yourself to some kind of status of under the light. The system gonna bring you in and bring you into the next level. You make this part. We're gonna make commercials and advertisement off of you and all that stuff. So now, here's people that know that you are cut from the same cloth like them are looking at you in the light like, you know what? We know now he should be, you know what I'm saying? He gonna talk about certain things because again, it is your products that is out here that again, based on people again in dire straits and needs, and again, social status is based on about brands. This is why the brands are out here poking fun at us and blackface and all that shit. Again, they also try to keep off that 400 years. I'm keep telling y'all that. So, all right. So with that being said, is so brands again. The biggest slave in the hood is the most branded slave. Do I have to say that again? The biggest slave in the hood is the most branded slave. And what I mean by branded means he got on all the latest shit that make everybody, he's a walking, talking billboard. That shine makes everybody else want to shine just like it to get the same kind of, pubs, as they used to say, popularity, right? In the circle, right? Now, here's the one that is making this as part of that social standing. And this is why a lot of people had a problem with Michael Jordan, is because they felt like he could have did something to curb it. But again, by him coming into the league, not knowing the game that was before him, locked him in with a 10-year contract that he was only getting $900,000. That means that everything he was making, his real true money came off of advertisement. McDonald's, General Mills, Coca-Cola, all that, Chevy, all that, GM. Well, that's where his real money was coming from, right? And so he became marketable. Now, again, he's breaking in all this. There's certain things, there's certain people. It's kind of like Michael Jackson. You get to a certain elevation, the people that are around you are not like the people who you come from. So their whole thing is about how to make money off you and to make sure that you don't damage the money. So you start to get a different mindset. You don't even have the real recollection of where you came from. And if you did, it's not like everybody else. Because you don't really come out of that. You live down there, you cut from there, but your struggle wasn't the same. So you wouldn't advocate on behalf of that because, again, that's not what your plight is. You never really understood that. That was other people. That wasn't you. Right? So that's why some people like about LeBron, because LeBron comes from single parent mom, come up out of the spots, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of funny shit, whatever, woo. He's commendable on that aspect about that. But when it comes to just that dominating and just a killer motherfucker, he losing that with Mike. That's just the only difference. That's the gear. It's just a gear. You understand? Don't mean that your IQ, your ability, your size, speed doesn't, cause trouble. But it's a gear one must have to be that dog. And he got it. Except for a lot of people he don't have that same gear when it comes to when they're dealing with DOS, ADOS, BADOS. You feel what I'm saying? So that's where I think Michael has always had the economy between his people, And like some people, again, say that, you know, the attitude and so forth when it comes to black people, he has a shitty attitude. I wasn't there. That's the story you relating. Again, we hear what you say. But again, they say it's not about what one says, it's about what one does. And then in the actions in it, maybe somebody got a plan that later down the line. I don't know. But again, it is what it is. That's Michael Jordan. Take it or leave it. But that's how it goes. People will be coming from areas, but still not be a part of a lot of the elements and not get the fullness of it and don't have the same feeling you would. So they're not going to propagate the same thing that you want them to be. Because somehow they don't separate that because they don't really, again, what they say, not about that life. And so when you're not about that life, and the thing about that life is we give honor and respect to those who got that God gift. But they know how to shift it and be like separate. See, the hood will give you the pass because, again, we will acknowledge greatness. See, black people know what greatness is. And you can be having that greatness, but they know in an aspect, like, nigga kind of fuck nigga though, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, like a lot of people talk about Scottie Pippen in the same form. But, you know, that's just what it is. And so I'm just saying that brother that did that toasting them, it's the same shit here. Like Michael Jordan and them. They've been groomed so far away from you, out of your environment, that their stance ain't about you. And again, social status is what they're about, branding and all that, name and all that. So again, they're going to do everything to promote everything other than themselves. See, they became like in, matter of fact, I got to do him because I got to talk about Spike Lee eventually. It's like that scene in Do the Right Thing when he was sitting there talking to, what name, Vito, whatever his name was, and he was talking about who's your favorite singer, and he was like Bruce, and he was like Prince, and then he was like, you know, this and this, and he was like, right? He said, but they're black, but they're not like real black. See, and that's what it is. They get to a colorless state because, again, their acceptability by other folks, and in order for them to save that, they can't be propagating and making statements about the black poor. Everybody wants to act like that don't exist, and we see that more and more and more. So again, take it for what you want it. That is Michael Jordan, right? So let's moving on. All right, so this one here is like I think there's a scripture on there. I think it's like Matthew's. Is it something like Matthew 3:8 or something like that? We're talking about, will a man rob God? You know what I'm saying? Will a man rob God? Check this out. You tell me, will a man rob God?
Police are trying to track down the person caught on camera robbing a church in Manhattan. Take a look at this surveillance image. The NYPD says the suspected thief stole 4 brass candlestick holders worth $3,000 inside St. Monica's Church on the Upper East Side. The candlesticks disappeared on the morning of January 30th. The suspect was last seen carrying a light blue suitcase.
All right. Let's see, somebody went up in there again. You know what I'm saying? Went up in the church. Up in the church. Say they know they got something in value in there. You know what I'm saying? I got this habit and shit. I got the habit. I ain't trying to go up in nobody's house. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one thing. If you come out of an area and the people poor, why are you robbing them folks? They like you know what I'm saying? Remember like what Chris Tucker had said one time? I think it was on Def Comedy Jam. He said, a nigga trying to rob me? It's like practicing. Right? Think about that. A nigga trying to rob you is like practicing. Right? He ain't got no money in his pocket. If you down on the low end, that nigga gonna get some money from. And you robbing him. Like, nigga, you practicing. You practicing for the real thing. What we gonna do? A run, ready, set, action, right? You pressing your leg. You like a scratch ticket. Yeah, you might get something, or you might just bust out, right? And so here it was, the individual again. You know, shit, motherfucker. I mean, he looked suspicious any damn way coming up in there. Big ass. I mean, motherfucker got a house ass coat and shit, right? going up in the church. And now, again, a lot of people going to have their problem with the church because, again, is the church robbing motherfuckers? Is the church robbing motherfuckers too? So I guess they would be, it's a thief robbing from a thief. No one could call the po-po because, shit, you robbing, right? So you can't trip. They charge it to the game. They charge that shit to the game, but no. Motherfucker went in there and got them golden sticks, right? Shit, they motherfucker, them sticks was about combined was about what they say? I don't know. It was a couple $100, right? That's enough to fix that habit. Give it to the dope man. You know what I'm saying? And they on the look for the cat. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like they still like when white motherfuckers do some shit. Seem like nobody can find their ass, right? Because our white folks don't look the same, but black people all look the same. That's why you can grab anybody, right? Oh, right. But in this case, you know what I'm saying? Wherever he's selling it, either the pawn shop, right? He gonna, you know what I'm saying? How's he gonna get rid of that, right? That quick, right? So anyway, and those who should be able to be in the area, APB for 4 candlesticks and a big white man in a damn overcoat and shit. So those who looking, be on the look. All right, so my next story is, again, they be talking about, school shooters and shit like that, right? That's not a good place because, again, too many people, bystanders, possibility, again, most people can't shoot. They miss their target. The possibility if you fired up a lot of rounds, a lot of innocent people could get hurt. So I seen this story the other day, and it was like, damn, man, again? Come on, man. But check this out. I'll be right back. Talk about it when I get back. Check this out. Hold on.
Shooting at a high school in Baltimore tonight. An armed man showing up in the lobby, shooting a hall monitor. Right here tonight, what happened next as that school went into lockdown. ABC's Stephanie Ramos is on the scene tonight.
Baltimore police got the call of the shooting just after noon.
Medicaid response, Frederick Douglass High School, first shooting.
Police say a 25-year-old man entered the lobby of Frederick Douglass High School and shot a hall monitor in the lower torso. The school put on lockdown. Students and teachers hiding in classrooms.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
One teacher tweeting, "Kids are aggravated and seem nervous, but we're okay."
We believe that this is an outside person that entered the school to confront someone inside the school.
School police officers were nearby. They were able to engage the suspect, take him into custody without incident.
Worried parents racing to the campus that is now a crime scene. David, school sources confirmed tonight the shooter was a relative of a student. The hall monitor is in serious but stable condition. David.
Stephanie Ramos. Stephanie, thank you.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
All right, so the story says that the suspect in Baltimore school shooting, also charged in 2018 murder. I'm going to say that again. Suspect in Baltimore school shooting, also charged in 2018 murder. Story was done February the 10th, 2019, coming from ABC15.com. And this is how I read it. It says, Maryland. A Baltimore City public school will be closed on Monday, just 3 days after a staffer was shot near the lobby during school hours. On Sunday, the decision was made to close Frederick Douglass High School to allow time to plan counseling and support for students following Friday's shooting at the school. Officials say staff will remain on the regular schedules so they may attend meetings, where counseling will also be made available. Last Friday around noon, 25-year-old Neil Davis entered the front vestibule of the school where he allegedly shot a 56-year-old school staff member following an argument. Baltimore City school police officers who were working inside the building at the time of the incident were able to arrest Davis. He was charged with attempt first-degree murder and firearm violations. Detectives were also able to charge Davis with the November 10, 2018 murder of 25-year-old Darnell Yancey. According to a shock trauma spokesperson, the staffer, who has not officially been identified, remains in serious condition. All right, so what we see here is that an individual seemed like had an issue with the individual who he shot, all right? And it seemed to be black, right? Because we, you know, again, you know, sometimes, you know, back in the day, you usually could tell when somebody was black by the name, but, you know, this kind of blurred line these days, right? You can't really tell who's who. But it said Neil Davis. So I'm under the speculation that he possibly might be black. Frederick Douglass is a black school, right? So would have been, I think would have made a lot more headline if this is white cat. And again, don't quote me as the way, but I'm just, again, I'm taking the story as I getting it. And not that I don't do due diligence, but again, they haven't put out nothing else on it. So I'm just assuming that he's black, right? Had an issue with somebody and he shot his man, right? Not like other people coming in there, white mugs coming in there, gunning up everybody because I'm mad at whoever or I'm mad at the whole goddamn school and I'm shooting everybody ass. So remember that part in White Man Can't Jump. Remember when he beat Raymond? Raymond was the one that went to the store, right, to sell his gun, right, to get the $250 so he could play, right? And then when he came back and then they lost, remember he ended up getting Woody Harrelson to play and them two played them and they lost, right? And then he come to find out, you got this goofy ass white motherfucker here, right? And I'm gonna cut you. So he got this blade, right? He said he couldn't cut it because the girlfriend was in the way. He's like, nah, you hustled me before, right, Raymond? He said, that's all right. I'm gonna go get my gun, get my other gun, shoot everybody ass. That's why everybody ran at the goddamn park, right? Well, that's what happened here, right? Something happened, transpired, my man came, shot my man up. He ain't shoot the whole school. See, that's the difference. See, that's why, you know, when you go back and you look at what happened again with the set that was said about the Hebrew Israelites when they were talking to the Covington high schoolers. Remember they said how they school shooters, right? Now, this is shot at a school, no doubt about that. But it did not matriculate into other people. It was only the target that was it made for. Now again, they're gonna throw every letter of the law at his ass, and rightfully so. And again, this dude already had a body, according to what the story said. He had already had a body last year in 2018. So I don't know how he was still walking on the streets unless they come to find out that he was not guilty for that, or maybe he was still fighting the case. Well, what, you know how it is, you get a case and shit, they try to say stay out of trouble, because again, you know, they want to put some more shit on it to make sure that your ass get convicted. In this case, being on school grounds, having gun, firing off gun, man in critical condition, well, that'd be the last time he do that shit. Best put your bottom dollar on that, right? You know how it is again. I'm pretty sure that's Baltimore. Possibility that could be within them school zones, and you know they set that all up for, you know, having a peripheral or parameters of the school that will be in areas that, again, people who do out there flipping packs and all that good shit, right? And you know, having you know, firearms and shit, so that puts more weight on it. So again, he ain't getting out no time soon, right? So, you know, he 25 now. But put about he'd be about 55, 60 if he should get out, right? Depending on the condition of the hall monitor. Maybe that was some old shit. Maybe he used to go there and shit, some shit he didn't want to get off his chest, right? Ain't no laughing matter, but I'm just saying, why would a dude come up there to shoot the damn hall monitor unless it was some personal shit outside of work in school or some old shit, right? But anyway, you know, there'll be some more to that story. But again, the dichotomy is white boys will shoot up the whole goddamn school. Black man come. If he gonna do some shooting, he shooting who he want to shoot. He ain't shooting up every damn body, right? Moving on. So, since we talking like that, right? So I seen this here, right? As I talked about earlier with Spike Lee and doing the right thing, right? I talking about Spike Lee doing the right thing. Hold on, do this here. Get up out of there. Don't do that. There you go. Go here. Right? And so, you know, based on what done transpired lately, right? Again, as we were talking earlier about brands and how these brands are just seen to be very disrespectful to American blacks in this country. The BADOS or the ADOS or the DOS, depending on how you want to call it, right? And so, you know, here was some of the stuff that he has said. And again, I'll give another clip onto it as into, again, what he has said that you might not have heard what he has said prior to. And he decided that he wanted to say something about it. So let's sit back for a quick minute or so. Before I even do that, let me go ahead and, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to have to do this, you know what I'm saying, because I guess people liking that, right? I guess you like that, right? I'm appreciative that you like that, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad that you like it because, you know, this is how this show is growing, and I guess it's kind of working. So, again, I got to pay the bills. Again, for those who are new to the show, welcome again to the most hated show on the Black Corner Internet. And after this PSA message, we'll get to the story. So check this out and be right back.
We have a guy in the White House, I'm not going to say his name. It was a defining moment. It was not just for Americans, for the world. And that was given a chance to say we're about love and not hate. And that did not denounce the Klan, the alt-right, and those Nazi. It was a defining moment, and he could have said to the world, not the United States, that we were better than that. The so-called Creole democracy, that's some United States of America was built upon the genocide of Native people and slavery. That is the fabric of the United States of America. As my Brooklyn brother Jay-Z would say, facts.
Spike Lee turning his back on two top clothing designers.
The director angry over what he's calling blackface fashion fails. ABC's Kenneth Moten joins us with more on this personal boycott and other stars now joining the cause. Kenneth, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. For Spike Lee, it's about giving more black fashion designers a seat at the table. He's once again using his microphone to say if there were more, they would be able to keep fashion companies in check and cut down on racially insensitive incidents. This morning, famed Do the Right Thing filmmaker Spike Lee,
You the man. No, you the man. No, you the man. No, you the man.
is demanding change in the fashion industry. Some top brands being labeled racially insensitive and tone deaf.
He's sort of furious over what I think he and many people would agree is really careless use of design and perpetuating, really painful stereotypical images.
This comes as Gucci, one of the most recognizable brands in the world, is under fire for this nearly $900 black sweater, which some say resembles blackface. The luxury designer opting to remove the item from stores and apologized. We consider diversity to be a fundamental value to be fully upheld, respected, and at the forefront of every decision we make. A few weeks ago, Prada also pulled these figurines depicting a monkey with bright red lips. Many online called them racist. At the time, Prada tweeted it never had the intention of offending anyone. We abhor all forms of racism and racist imagery. This isn't the first time big brands have been accused of lacking racial sensitivities. H&M hired a diversity leader in the wake of this hoodie faux pas, featuring the phrase, "coolest monkey in the jungle." The scrutiny is also reaching Adidas for this all-white sneaker meant to commemorate Black History Month. The major sportswear company pulled the shoes, saying they did not reflect the spirit or philosophy of how Adidas believes we should recognize and honor Black History Month. Now Spike Lee, nominated for an Oscar in directing the hit BlacKkKlansman,
Doesn't that hatred you've been hearing the Klan say, doesn't that piss you off?
is using his powerful platform during the height of award season, boycotting Prada and Gucci until the brands hire more black designers. Lee, writing on Instagram in his own unique way, it's obvious to the peoples that the brands don't have a clue when it comes to racist, blackface, hateful imagery. Wake up. Now other celebrities and artists, including rapper T.I., are calling on the public to join the protests against the brands.
People have no tolerance for a lack of diversity in this day and age. Fashion brands really need to catch up with that.
Spike Lee, who famously did not attend the 2016 Academy Awards in protest over a lack of diversity in the nominations, says people took a stand then, and later there were more Oscar nods to people of color. Guys, the big question is, will there be change? And how many other Oscar-nominated celebrities will join Spike Lee in not wearing Prada, Gucci? We'll definitely find out on that red carpet Oscar Sunday.
It's a really provocative question. Kenneth, thank you so much. Always great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Sunday morning.
Good
to see you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.
I don't have the answer. Spike Lee on race in Trump's America. You know I'm going to say that again. I don't have the answer. Spike Lee on race in Trump's America. This story was done February the 7th, 2019, coming from the Politico. And this is how it reads. Politics in America has always fundamentally been about two huge fraught topics, race and class. Don't believe it? Just think about how in the span of just 8 years, the same country elected Barack Obama, the son of an African father, and Donald Trump, a billionaire real estate developer from Queens who parallel racial and economic resentment into the Oval Office. In the run-up to the Academy Awards, Politico sat down with an artist who had plumbed the depths of these topics over a more than 30-year career. Spike Lee, his 22nd feature, BlacKkKlansman, which tells the story of an African-American police officer who infiltrated the Klan in the 1970s, is up for 6 Oscars, including a historic shot at Best Director. In a roll-licking and unfiltered interview, Lee sounded off on Trump, the State of the Union, America's more reckoning with the racism of the past, and whether movies can make a difference. He didn't offer much hope. My job is to show what the fuck is happening, he told us, not to offer Hollywood endings, but he gave us a singular perspective on being black in Trump's America, excerpts lightly edited for clarity. Politico. There's a scene in the BlacKkKlansman where the Klan members are watching Birth of a Nation together and having a great time. When racists get together like that in 2019, what are they watching? Spike Lee. They're probably still watching Birth of a Nation. I mean, it be on the down low. Politico. Yeah, America has come a long way since the time of the film, but it's not like racism has gone away. Look at what happened in Charlottesville. So clearly you wanted to make it clear the problem is still very much with us. Spike Lee. Well, It never went away. I was not one of those individuals who was hoodwinked or bamboozled into thinking that when my brother Barack Hussein Obama put his right hand on Abraham Lincoln's Bible, there would be a magical moment and we'll enter the post-racial world. I wasn't going for it. Hell no. I do not believe that for a second. Another lie, another false narrative. Because if that's the case, we would have been in the world we are today, and you could say that a lot of stuff is a reaction to 8 years of President number 44 in the White House. Plus, there was some shenanigans going on in the voting in Florida. Politico. Wesley Morris wrote this interesting piece about race and the Oscars in the New York Times. You read it, right? Spike Lee, a great piece. Politico. So I'm curious, what do you think of the argument that the elites in Hollywood really only feel comfortable putting up films about race that aren't too edgy? I think about Moore's point about Do the Right Thing. That was a movie that didn't have much of a happy ending, right? Spike Lee. It was hard. That was a tough movie. It was obvious not easy, but whoa, listen, there's different categories, right? The nominations were Danny Aiello for Best Supporting Actor, and he lost out to Denzel for Glory. And then I was nominated for the Best Original Screenplay, so those were only 2. Politico. And this is a much bigger deal because you could be the first African American to win Best Director. Spike Lee, well, we'll see. Politico. But what did you make of what Morris says? Spike Lee. Oh, I mean, he was very analytical. He broke it down and, he made you understand why we're saying what we were saying and made comparisons between Driving Miss Daisy and another film that's nominated this year, as well as another film that's not new this year. Politico. You were on Colbert's last night and you were talking about how you were nominated and it probably wouldn't have happened if the Academy hadn't diversified. Spike Lee. Well, it's 2 things in order. The first was your sister, April Green, with the hashtag Oscars So White, combined with another sister, Cheryl Boone Isaac, who was at that time president of the Academy of Motion Picture and Arts and Sciences. Those 2 things together really forced the Academy to open up and diversify. So April and Miss Isaac should take a bow anytime any person of color is nominated because what they did was crucial. Moonlight, Get Out. None of us would be winning nominations if they hadn't opened up the voting. Political. So, spinning that towards just the United States election in general, do we need to do the same sort of thing? Do you think there's a sort of an analogy there? Spike Lee. It's not about open up the voting. It's like stop suppressing people's vote. Voting for an Oscar or for an award is not going to change the world. One of these guys up here, point to Capitol building, like, don't people understand this guy has the nuclear codes? Hopefully they gave him the wrong one, but we vote and people get into the powerful positions that affect our lives. How many people no longer have loved ones because of the Vietnam War or any war? Weapons of mass destruction or some bullshit, people are dead. People lost loved ones because that bullshit was a lie. They knew they had Colin Powell going in and lying. I mean, they put the brother in a tough space. Laughter. They had him jammed up, but they all knew that was some bullshit. And people have lost loved ones behind some bullshit. Some straight up shenanigans. Political bamboozling? Spike Lee. Right. I mean, people will be watching Bamboozle tonight. Political. So, what is it going to take for people to understand that blackface is a no-go? Spike Lee. It wasn't cool. Al Jolson did it. The jazz singer, it wasn't cool. Judy Garland doing it. Mickey Rooney, Bugs Bunny is just wrong. So I don't want to hear about it. where someone's alibi is, well, it was the 80s. That is no excuse, and it just goes to show you how entrenched racism is. It's embroidered. It's sewn into the flag by Betsy Ross. It's a part of the DNA of this country. And in my opinion, I don't think we're going to move forward and acknowledge the shaky history this country has. This country was built upon the genocide of Native Americans and slavery. That's the narrative, that the true foundation of the United States of America. The founders of this country owed slaves. I mean, let's be honest. How old was Sally Hemings? She was 14. Thomas Jefferson? Why are young kids still being taught that George Washington chopped down a tree, and when confronted with it, he said, "I cannot tell a lie"? Why are your young kids being taught about Christopher Columbus? Christopher Columbus was a terrorist. How could you discover people like you showed up and you discovered somebody? You discovered the land and the people, and again, these in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, or how the rest of that shit goes. They make kids recite that shit. People are being taught lies, and what's really being something that I found out, that if you tell a lie right up here, pointing at the Capitol building, and keep telling a lie, people start to think that's true. Political. So if people are telling lies, but then they learn the truth, do they get a pass? Like this governor in Virginia, does he get a pass because now he may have learned something? Spike Lee. 3 words. Hell to the no. 2 words. Hell no. Not hell, hell, hell. No, let me put a little Virginia on it. A little Virginia sauce. Hell no. It's interesting that all this happened in Virginia, the cradle of Confederacy. And let me make it deeper for you. This 400 years ago, the first slaves were brought onto the James to Virginia in 1619, and we need to start talking about that. Political. You did a press conference in Canis, in which you called the President of the United States a motherfucker. Spike Lee. Oh yeah, did you count them? It was more than one. Political. Yeah, so that was a moment. Do you think there's anything he could do to fix what happened in Charlottesville? What he was said about it and all the things he said since? Spike Lee. I appreciate your question, sir, but how can a person fix what he said in Charlottesville when he previously said Mexicans are rapists, murderers, and drug dealers? I mean, the vile language he used about human beings. Did you see the thing last night, the State of the Union address? Check this out. Several times throughout the night, they stood up people who were survivors of concentration camp. There's somebody who landed in Normandy on the beach, as he said, the greatest battle of all time. The last time I checked, the Germans were occupying France. That footage in Charlottesville, those people were wearing and waving swastikas. So there's a disconnect for me, because what Trump said last night with who you introduced does not connect with me, that you did not denounce those neo-Nazis. You would not denounce the KKK. You would not denounce the alt-right. He didn't do it. And it's been my belief that the President of the United States of America, the most powerful man in the world, who sits at the helm of the cradle of democracy, should speak for our nation against hate. He didn't do it. That's going to be, when all this shit is said and done, of all the fucked up things Trump said, that's going to be at the top. That the first one historians are going to go to. What we did so skillfully in the film was show the contrast between what he's saying and what we're seeing. And then to show the real life David Duke, the former Grand Wizard, there in Charlottesville saying this is what Trump's talking about, to take America back. Then we see an act of homegrown red, white, and blue banana split terrorism. Homegrown. A car turned into a murder weapon, speeding down a crowded street and murdered Heather Hayers. Political. You called her mother? Spike Lee, well, I wanted you for permission, and I mean Trump was very disrespectful to her. I don't want to get into it, but he didn't do right with her. Political. How do we heal as a country? Spike Lee. Well, here's the thing, though. And this is the biggest criticism of Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee, he didn't provide the answer to racism, to prejudice. That was 1989, and I'm not going to start in motherfucking 2019. That's not my job. Politico, what is your job? Spike Lee, to show what the fuck is happening, and hopefully through dialogues or whatever, people see what the hell is going on. But I will not sit in front of this microphone, stand at the Capitol building, and tell you that Spike Lee has an antidote to cleanse the world of hate and racism. I won't do that. It'll be a lie. I don't have the answer. All right, so we have Spike Lee, who decided to get into the fray, talking about all the shit that's been going on with all this damn blackface and really just blackface, right? But again, as you are an avid watcher over here, we done talked about why I believe that this is all being manifest in everybody's face. But I will also, as I give my dissertation about what you've seen from my perspective about some things that I heard. Now, we see that to start off again, that you've seen the video where Spike Lee had it was a press conference after something that manifest or took place. And he had talked about some things, how his feeling towards Donald Trump and about what had manifest, about having that moment in history to set a precedence, right? To set a tone in the land. And according to Spike Lee, he believed that he missed the mark. He had the opportunity, right? And so you see where he said that we are a people about love and not hate. Now, again, that in itself is self-explanatory. But again, in a country that is on the foundation built on, as he said, genocidal of Indians and slavery, how can that ever be that until all those ills and atrocities have been, amended, compensated, repaired, right? Reparated, whatever terms you want to use. How can you ever get to the state? Now, again, when you are a victim, right? Let's say the old fight between Sugar Ray and Roberto Duran, that Sugar Ray was beating the hell out of him till he was no mas, right? Meaning no more, right? So when you are the victim and somebody's pummeling the shit out of you, of course you're going to be the one about loving everybody, right? I don't have no hate because you getting your ass whooped, right? You getting the shit beat out of you, right? And something about a good ass whooping changes the mindset, right? And so in this case, it's a humanity thing. You done beat the shit out of a people beyond. It's more than abuse. It's becoming, right? Really, it's just what they say, the sin of this country. So you're not expecting them as if you're the victim, they must be the aggressor, right? And so what you're asking for is the state mind of a victim to be the same state mind of the one who's administering the victimhood on you, right? So that's not their mindset. So for you to want them to come to that term, I guess it's a Christian teaching, right? That love thy neighbor as you love yourself and do unto others. But again, in their Bible, they don't have that page. It reads something entirely different. Do unto others before they can do it on to you. Because if you let them do it to you, then you be like them, and they say, we ain't finna be you. So this is just the normal function that we do in this land, right? And so Spike Lee had believed that, he said that if Trump would have gone ahead at that moment in time and set the precedents to set the tone in the nation, that it would have made, it would have made, as he said, show the world we were better than that. Now, again, that is one of the old adages that black people have. about white folks looking. You know, those who've been around, white folks looking. White folks, we don't have our laundry like that. You gotta get to the point. Fuck what they think. Fuck all that shit. I don't give a fuck about what you think. Because you know what? Are you worried about what the world thinks, or you need to just say, nigga, you need to leave us the fuck alone? I don't give a fuck what the world think. The world know who they is. It's just the problem you haven't come to the realization of who they is, right? Again, in the introduction or the ending of the show, you hear Malcolm say his brothers who know who he is, they call him, listen at the end of the show. I ain't gonna say it, just listen for it. And Malcolm gonna tell you how his own relatives know who he is. So they not shocked. They just shocked on the position you've been in. Like, damn, you know what I'm saying? You ever seen Cool Hand Luke? For those, like, again, there's an old movie where I think it's Paul Newman, right? With Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke got the fight. I forgot what my man's name was. He got in the fight with him. It's kind of like the same thing in life. Remember when Eddie fought over the cornbread? Basically, life is really a kind of like a new form of a black version of Cool Hand Luke, right? So he was pummeling the shit out of him to the fact that, you know, like people can watch, let's say that World Star, which I ain't watched that shit in a long time no since, right? But I know I used to watch some of that shit, and I get to the point there's a gory part of it, right? Where the part you just like, damn, man, I don't want to watch this shit, right? But just imagine you watching somebody getting their ass pummeled. They getting their ass pummeled so much to the fact that you just like, man, you done beat them enough, man. Enough, man. This shit ain't cool no more, right? Well, that's how we are. We kind of like Cool Hand Luke. We gonna let you beat the fuck out of us until you recognize, man, you know what I'm saying? Where you just like, fuck it, man. It's not worth beating them because this motherfucker won't stay down. Huh? We the Cool Hand Luke of the world. Motherfucker beating the shit out of us, but we won't lay down. To the point they're about to just lay down. Just lay down. They doing everything to you. Lay down. We too resilient. The Cool Hand Lukes of the world. Pass it on. So you said again, he said that blackface fashion failed. No, it didn't fail. It sent this message. So you know what you see what they do? They'll send the message out and then they want to backtrack later. Oh, we didn't know that was going to happen. I'm sorry that you done already got the message out. The punch already been made. The damage is already made. You know, it's kind of like saying you being in an argument, significant other, and you say some foul shit, right? You say some shit you like, you know you shouldn't have said that shit, right? And the person heard it and they're angry and they have their ways again. Maybe you're going to be sleeping on the couch. You ain't getting no back. Get kicked out the house. Police get called on you. All kinds of shit can manifest, right? And then you got to go through that period of time to get back to the rekindling, to get us back into the state of where it was kind of like, okay, I ain't mean that shit in the makeup. You know, that makeup sex, right? You know how they go, right? But anyway. So, but even after that, even though after you done made up, that shit been said. Even though y'all make up and even though all that is, but in the back of the crevice, in the back in the hidden part of the mind, there's a trigger you can bring that shit back up. Even though a person forgive you, you can trigger that shit and bring it right fuck back like it's day one. Right? And so that's what these people do. They come out, do the shit, they want to come back and recant and say, oh, that's not again, that's not what we're about. You know what I'm saying? There's too many pieces in the protocol for something like that to get out to the public like that. Too many different stages of the process for that to just accidentally get out. So again, you have to say, why is Gucci? Why is Prada? Why is Adidas? Why is H&M? And many more companies doing it is because the fragility of mind of the 400 years is to keep your ass off the focus of them, you, us, bombarding this damn internet, social media about the atrocities that we have taken. Do I need to say that again? Maybe I need to say that again. The reason why you seeing all this shit, blackface and senators and all this shit and all these people that coming out and bringing out the photos and Gucci and Prada and Adidas and H&M is because they're trying to divert you. Remember this? Remember what Mr. Blow Your Mind whole deal was? To come in from January 1st all the way through for the 400 years, and then they diverted me with all kind of other shit, and then they still put the 90 days on me. Is because of fragility of mind. If we bombard this social media and just talk strictly about the 400 years, white people heads will blow the fuck up. So they got to divert you off of that. Because even Spike Lee even said in the interview, didn't he say the 400 years? Well, we're going to move on, keep on, right? So it goes on and says we need to get more. Now, do you believe that shit giving more at the table? Meaning that in order to subside some of this bullshit that's going on, that we need more black people at the table. Does black people at the table make a change in the institutions and the policies and the laws of this land? No. So more people at the table is not going to make this a better deal. See, the problem is because the game been going on for longer than it is, and the person had such a head start that they so fixated, so they're so permanent fixtures into what you call the country, that it's only incumbent that whatever they is or what they believe is always going to be having prominence in this land. Do I need to say that again? Do I need to say that again? Or did you get it the first time? I think you got it, right? So somebody who's been here long, setting up, putting their shit in place, even if you put a couple crumbs in there, you can't tell the difference, right? Shit, get a glass of milk and just take a pinch of chocolate milk and put that shit in there. That shit's still gonna be white, no matter what. Even though you done put them crumbs in there, that shit still is white milk. But you say, I put some chocolate milk in there. Can't tell. Can't tell. Can't tell. And that's what you're talking about. Putting people in there in a position that's not going to change one iota of shit, right? And thinking because it's Black History Month. Well, they the ones gave you the okay. That's like getting the damn, a lot of people talking about, well, you need to get a passport. Now, again, that's not somebody personal. I'm just saying in hypothetical talking. A passport is getting the okay by the same old person that you're trying to get the fuck away from. They don't want to give me the goddamn okay, right? So when you talking about, it's Black History Month and they doing all this, they the one gave you that shit. Right? We are in the mind to say, shit, I don't need you giving me Black History Month, because Black History Month for me is every single day. Ain't no month. It's every single goddamn day. Now, it being again is the 400 years we talking about, right? So again, a lot of this shit is a diversion. It's to keep your mind off the 400-year commemorative because they won't be able to deny it. It's fact, as he said, Jay-Z says, facts. That's facts. That's in their books, in their writing, not what we said, what they said, right? So isn't it funny that every day is some way to keep you off of not them talking about that? And as it get closer to August, when they have to really hit that date, they only want it for the one date. But we supposed to have been hitting that shit from the whole day from January 1st. But everybody else is on something else, right? All right. So going on, it says now look, he said that the reason this is because of lack of diversity. All right, this where I want to go. Lack of diversity. That shit in itself sounds delicious, right? Oh, that shit. Somebody telling you about a recipe and telling you what all they cooking and what they put in the ingredients. You're like, damn, that shit sounds delicious. But if you're tasting it as a ADOS, a BADOS, a DOS, that shit don't taste good. Let me tell you something. White people said that diversity is a curse word to them. It means non-white. Well, let me tell you something too, as a whiteologist. Diversity as a ADOS, DOS, BADOS means ain't no African Americans. I'm sorry. Rewind that shit. Hold on. Meaning ain't no Black Americans. Diversity in this country means no Black Americans. So I'm with you, white folks. I'm with you with that. When you say diversity means no white folks, well, diversity also means no Black Americans. Do I need to say that again? Diversity in this country means non-white or no white people, and it also means no black Americans. So that means everything between them two don't get nothing. It's not about neither one of them. So Spike, that's not true. Diversity ain't got shit to do with if you're a black American. It's about everybody else. All the shit when you're talking about immigration and people who are coming from the continent, talking about now they cloak it in under this term, they're talking about African American. See, we as black Americans need a term outside of the motherfucker when they talking about African American. Black American is our determinant. That's how we are classified, not African American. African American means any motherfucking body. That's why you can have an Indian, Jamaican person talking about I'm African American. You can have a motherfucker with a white mama with an African daddy talking about he African American, as if the African American that is come from the soil, blood, sweat, and tears of this land is not distinct than a motherfucker who came over here and getting that goddamn citizenship. Do I need to say that again? Huh? Do I need to say that again, or did you get it the first time? So that's why it's incumbent on us to get a new motherfucking title of who the fuck we is, because that shit that they got is everybody stealing under diversity, stealing the shit from us. So don't feel bad, white man. We feel it too as black Americans. The only problem is everybody's recognizing they stealing, and now that we starting to talk, your best bet is, let me tell you, see, Spike Lee said he ain't got no answer for it. I got an answer for it in this country. Deal with the black Americans, and then take that mantra off the goddamn country, and then you can purge all this shit up out of here. But they gonna fight for that shit. They gonna fight for that shit. Now, he says, Spike Lee said he didn't have the answer. They said that the only two in this country is race and class, which is bullshit, right? Moral recognizing, ain't no morals in this motherfucker. Ain't no morals. And blacks in Trump America don't matter. Wouldn't matter who the fuck was sitting in that goddamn seat. It don't matter who you put in the seat. That's Massa House. He done had a so-called African American sit in the damn seat, and what did you get? No more than you got than anybody 43 before that 44 got in. You didn't get nothing different. So that shit is fool's gold. It ain't real. It's an illusion. It's It's illusion. Now, he says, when you're talking about this country has come a long ways and about the racism. And then when you talk about the racism, why is it that when we talk about the atrocities in the land, the most relevant one that you're going to do to make the bridge that these people will have is say Charlottesville? Now, again, we don't condone about what done took place with the woman that got killed. But what we're saying is, it's kind of like the same people who talk about the atrocities of what happened in Auschwitz as if they got the goddamn patent to when it comes to the atrocities of the goddamn world. No, we, B-A-D-O-S, A-D-O-S, D-O-S, we are the number one. We are the number one when it comes to all that shit. And everybody know it, and everybody tries to divert from dealing with it because, again, it is the greatest of all time. You know how Ali say the greatest of all time? Well, D-D-O-S, A-D-O-S, B-A-D-O-S is the greatest atrocity ever on the history of the planet. And if it ever gets to a point of court, it will be the greatest court. It will, check this out. For all them other ones outside of ADOS, DOS, and BDA, if we should ever get our case before and win, do you know how how they have cases that you can use to get your case? Guess what would happen? But if you come in here trying to usurp us from the shit that we got a claim to, you ain't getting shit, and the answers are gonna make sure that y'all ain't getting shit, and everything here is that you trying to prosper will not succeed. Now moving on. He says if people tell lies, right? He was talking about the people. He said in the country, as much as this country has lied to, right? As much as this country has told so many goddamn lies, are they to be forgiven? Huh? So now, is that what this is about? You want us, after all the shit, that you still don't have the humanity of heart of mind to stop the bullshit you've been doing, and now you want forgiveness. See, that shit that you put in that book is bullshit. You constantly do the shit that you do, and then you want to say, can he be forgiven? Well, the forgiveness don't come from us. if what you put in that damn book that you spared to your damn slaves that we took and made it become real to us, if it is real, which I'm saying it is real, then the only forgiveness you got to worry about is whether that forgive you. Because what we got to feel about you, you can't stop. It's a primal urge. It's your primal nature. It's your primal fear. So you can't change. And if you wanted to, you can't. Let me move on. Fuck all that shit, huh? A lot of bullshit here, man. That's a lot of bullshit. Ain't no need to explain that shit. Ain't no answer for that shit. You gonna have to deal with that, huh? With James Brown, you gotta deal with it. Huh? You gonna have to deal with it. Moving on. Enough with that shit. Move on. Matter of fact, fuck all that shit. Let me show you something they said, right? Based on the fuck that shit they said. Huh? Listen what they saying about this guy. Look what they saying. Let's see what they saying, right? Let's see what they saying. Come on. Oh, hit it in. Let's get it. Shit.
America, like the saying about the glass that's either half full or half empty, either is or is not in decline. The answer, of course, has a lot to do with whom you ask. Trump voters, defined as the anything is better than what we now have generation of voters, would say decline. Most bankers or Wall Streeters would tell you, hey, doing great, love America. Is America on its farewell tour? Well, that's the name of the Pulitzer Prize winning author Chris Hedges' most recent book. So Chris stopped by our studio this week, and I grabbed him and asked him what he means by farewell tour.
The system is broken down, and it has vomited up demagogues like Trump and created a series of pathologies, which I write about in the book. You mentioned America, the farewell tour, of the opioid crisis, gambling, suicides, hate groups. This is what happens when a society seizes up, sociologists call it diseases of despair, and that is common to any empire in its final period of decay. I studied classics at Harvard, and you saw it in the Roman Empire, you saw it in the end of the Athenian Empire, the end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and we are following that trajectory, as anthropologists like Joseph Tainer and others have pointed out.
You know, what's interesting is, I mean, the average American worker, and I think you point this out in much of your writing, there's debt, there's low wages, there's addictions, there's no health insurance, there's bad schools, there's most people are a couple of paychecks away from bankruptcy. And these are all conditions that exist in our country today, and yet voters generally continually vote against the policies that would at least try and help those issues or solve those problems. Why does that happen? Why do we vote in America against our own interests?
Because we're not offered the opportunity to vote for a party that protects our interests. The Democratic Party, certainly for unionized workers at automobile plants like GM, did not protect their interests. I mean, this is the problem, that we created a kind of faux liberal class, really begun by the Clintons. So I was in Anderson, Indiana for this book and interviewing former GM workers. Clinton passes NAFTA. By 2006, GM is in Monterrey, Mexico, where they're paying workers $3 an hour without benefits. All the union jobs are gone. They actually supported Sanders in the primary. Then you saw the Democratic Party, I would argue, steal the nomination from Sanders through a series of mechanisms: superdelegates, denying independents the right to vote, stealing the Nevada caucus, erasing voters from the rolls, as we saw in New York, etc. And they weren't going to vote for Clinton. They knew very well what Bill Clinton had done to them, and they voted for Trump in desperation. But in the American system, really, you get to vote. It's not so much what you vote for, because it's all corporate burlesque. You have to. Clinton raised $1 billion to run. You can't run without the infusion of corporate money. It's more that you vote for what you hate or against what you hate, rather than what you're for.
So what do we do? And I guess most people would listen to this conversation that we're having and wonder if there is something out there, some light at the end of the tunnel that'll somehow change our direction in such a way so that we will open our eyes and see some possibilities for the future. Is there hope?
Yeah, there's hope. I mean, look at Paris. We have to do what the Yellow Vest movement is doing, which is shut the cities down and begin to disrupt the system, because the system, as it's configured now, is not even remotely responsible to what our rights are and the kind of suffering that has thrown half of the country into poverty or near poverty. And you saw Macron finally begin to respond. I mean, that's really what we have to do because Joe Biden isn't going to save us.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.
All right, so we have Chris Hedge there on RT talking about how the decaying of an empire, how it manifests itself, right? So it said about hatred and tension within the society is the symptoms of a decaying empire. And matter of fact, you have that well in this land. It's been going on for a long period of time. And it seems like there's added wood to this fire by making immigration part of the, as wood. Immigration would be part of the wood. Then, again, as I said, hatred, you have an old rivalry, right? You know how like sometimes you watch sports and certain teams come up and it's like, oh, the Bears versus the motherfucking Green Bay Packers and shit like that. Oh shit, it's gonna be a good ass game. Them rivals, right? So you got an old adage rival, which is the black and the whites, right? The ADOS and old Massa and his peoples, right? Then you have the other one would be the poor aspect of that, and DOS and black people in general. And then you have DOS, and then you have those who migrate here who are also would be considered African Americans. They are happening, right? So this shit is, the powder in the keg is packing. It's packing this shit up in here, right? It's packing up in this motherfucker, right? And so all left is for this motherfucker to be lit so the wick can get to explode. That's all we at right now. So this decay and this shit is getting, that's why you constantly, somebody is feeding this, or beating you down and making you feel like you ain't shit with the black face and all this other shit. All this shit is manifesting. All this shit is just packing in more and more and more and more and more. So he goes on and says that when you think about, again, as DOS, those again, Yvette Carnell and Tony, what's Tony's last name? I can't think of Tony Moore, right? Oh, who are the ones who came up with the DOS and ADOS, right? Again, I say BADOS because, again, I got black first. Black gonna always be first. Whether you want to say fuck is a crayon color, where the fuck it is, that's been who I've been labeled and stigmatized as in this goddamn land. That's who I'll take it and run with. Fuck all that shit when motherfuckers want to talk about, well, that shit, you don't have no standing and no status. Well, you ain't got none either, motherfucker, and you following that shit. So stop all the bullshit when you get talking. Just keep that shit 100, right? All that fuck ass shit y'all be talking. You show me and then we can do it. Because matter of fact, I think Wesley Snipes tried that shit and what happened to him? Get out of here with that bullshit. Anyway, so parties, right? So did you hear how Chris Hedge said that how really how the game is played? Now again, take some notes, y'all. Take some notes. Think about what he just said. He said, now you don't vote for what you want, what you're for, what you're pro. You vote for what you hate. Do I need to say that again? He said, Chris Hedge said, this is how they get down. Parties of the, it's not about party of your interests. He said that what you vote for is what you hate, not what you for, what you pro, right? So let's say that the DOS, ADOS, BADOS in this land are talking about how legislative and all that shit is putting us in a position that is always in a disfranchisement mode. Well, that's because the nation has always been for that shit to make sure, because that's the agenda that they want. So in the best interest of them to get what the shit they want, they had to be down for it. He just gave you the game. He told you the game. He said that, as a matter of fact, that when you look at that shit, most of this shit is done by corporate. You can't get shit done. You can't get into the game if you ain't got corporate backing and corporate money. Matter of fact, go read Robert Barron's, right? That book will tell you how that game is going down and how that whole shit got introduced into it, right? He said, going back, he said, the reason why, again, like they kind of say Russian bots and shit, the reason why DOS is over here talking like that. Well, he gave you another tidbit to some stuff that I had did the video before last, which gave you the breakdown talking about that whole thing about how election and how Hillary Clinton won by a damn 2 million votes, 1.6 million at that particular time. That she said in her own mouth that she won by 3 million. But again, the game is about electoral college. So it had nothing to do with black people not voting for your ass, because we only gonna live where we gonna live. Now, most of you who got a little bougie ass motherfuckers, you live around white folks. So we talking about them, the small, again, crumbs of motherfucking chocolate milk in a glass of milk. They ain't had shit to do with why your electoral college. He told you what it was. He said they remember your husband and the shit that he pulled back in the day when they did that NAFTA. NAFTA, North Atlantic, that trade, with Mexico, and they combined all that together. And what happened? The motherfucking car company took that shit, went over down to Mexico to get that cheap ass labor. And the motherfuckers who lost their motherfucking job did not forget that shit. And when it was your turn, they didn't vote for your ass. There go the game for you. There it go, right? Huh? That's how they did it, right? So he says that hope. What is the hope? He said, well, take a page out of what's going over there in France, right? Talking about the yellow vests, right? He said, that's what you need to do. Do like they doing. You know what I'm saying? They over there, again, they talking about slave wages and all that shit. And he said, well, according to him, he said they shutting down the motherfucking system. You ain't gonna see the difference between France and them. Okay, you do have the problem of immigration coming in there, right? But they ain't holding on shit, so they not have. You understand? So they got a mess over there too. But you got motherfuckers over here who replacing us. See, the truth of the matter is this: white man, you fucked up in this nation. You fucked up when you didn't want to give honor and respect to the people who gave and paid and made that opulent life you had. And rather go get somebody else to undermine so that you can keep getting big profits, so you didn't have to pay the motherfucker who understood the game like you. And now chickens is coming home to motherfucking roost. That's what's happening here. And so now motherfuckers is coming to plant their flag in the moon, and now they gonna try to say, well, we're African Americans, we're considered that. So if African American got a claim, then even though we just getting here, we got a claim too, right? So your shit backfired on your motherfucking ass, right? And now all it's doing is making this motherfucking country get to a motherfucking standstill or drawing the line. Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of yourself? You shouldn't be. And then the all to that is, in the mix of that shit, while you was doing all that shit and doing it, now you to the point that your demographics can't recover. You'd have been better off mixing with us. At least your babies would have been better. Now you talking about Tom Brokaw, like, I don't want no Mexican baby. No, you don't want no Mexican baby, but you would have been better off getting that Stephen Curry baby, that motherfucking Blake Griffin baby. You would get that Serena baby, right? Now look at the shit, right? Okay, well, we're going to move on. Well, matter of fact, let me go ahead and get the motherfucking, let me do another let me get another PSA in this motherfucker, boy. This nigga over here getting it in. So let's move it. Let's get it.
Daily Show host Trevor Noah continues to make his mark on late-night comedy. He recently introduced viewers to his grandmother in his hometown of Johannesburg to discuss his childhood under apartheid. His grandma said she used to be scared police would take Noah because he was a mixed race and interracial relationships were illegal.
Why did I give you a tough time, Google? Because we wanted to play in the street. And I knew the flying squad was going to take me.
So if I was playing in the street, the police would have arrested me?
Yeah! You know, there were kids.
Noah shares how his family kept him hidden in his memoir, Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood. The New York Times named it one of the top books of 2016. Trevor Noah, good morning.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So great to have you here.
You and your grandmother.
Oh, yeah, she was great. She was really fun. She still doesn't get what we were doing because she doesn't watch the Daily Show.
Does she know what you do? Have you sent her tapes or anything?
No, but and you know what's great is that she doesn't care. That's what I love. So my grand just goes, he's Trevor, that's why I like him. So I don't want her love of me to be determined by what I do or don't do in my work world.
Yeah, you couldn't play in the street, and so now you get to play on TV. Trevor, now getting serious for a moment, what do you make of what's happening with the Virginia governor?
Oh, well, it's an interesting conversation that I feel like we need to break down into so many pieces. First of all, I think a lot of people are hurt when you keep getting reminders of where America has come from and where America is for many people. You know, to see somebody who's in power and you look back and you go like, oh, you were wearing blackface, you were part of this organization. Even if he says that wasn't him, he says he wore blackface for a Michael Jackson competition. I think a lot of the time it reminds people of a conversation that hasn't been had in America, it feels like. And that's a conversation around race and America's past. And a lot of people say, oh, but it's over now. It's like, yes, but you still have to have the conversations around it. And to his credit, Governor Northam does say, he says he wants to have the conversations. And I think you need to, because like you keep going further and further down the chain, you're going to find more and more blackface in Virginia. It's not going to end.
Right,
And so we like to think that we can fire a person or we can get rid of somebody when we find something like this. But that doesn't solve the problem. That doesn't have the conversation. And someone took that photo of him. Someone put that photo in the yearbook. Someone stood next to him in that photo. Everyone was in that community. So the larger conversation is, in Virginia, what conversations do they need to be having around race and everywhere else?
And he's still saying, for the record, though, Trevor, that wasn't him in the photo. And when we were in Virginia this weekend, the driver who was driving said, you know, this still exists here.
Right.
This is still, you know, we could take you places right now where people are still dressing up in blackface. And so I think you're right. We've got to have the conversation.
And I suppose that's one of the reasons why you commend Liam Neeson for coming forward and saying that he profiled.
Well, what I was saying was I prefer what happened with Liam Neeson. You know, one thing I talk about in my book, Born a Crime, is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. South Africa is not perfect. Our system wasn't perfect. But one thing I did appreciate is that I come from a country where we had to sit down and have completely truthful conversations about where the country was and how it came to be that way. And so I think what that gives you is a certain level of honesty when having these conversations. So for me, I would rather have it that people speak and say, like Liam Neeson did, hey, I had these horrible thoughts, even if it was 40 years ago. You know, and it does dig up wounds where many people will say, as a black person, it feels like an assault. You go, you realize how fragile the black life is. But I would prefer that conversation to be had.
And given that history with Truth and Reconciliation, talk about how you have to hear things like what Liam Neeson is saying. So he's being honest.
Right.
What about on the receiving end of hearing something like that, which to a lot of people would be, you know, incredibly shocking.
And he gets hammered for being honest.
Well, but here's my thing, though. If you're a black person reading that headline, and that's where my problem comes from a lot of the time is the headline. You cannot expect a black person to have the work now of feeling bad for Liam Neeson. The headline reads, Liam Neeson roamed the streets looking for a black person to kill. I think sometimes society makes, puts the onus on the victims or puts the onus on those people who have been hurt by the situation and goes, well, how do you think about his position, think about him. But if you're a black person, it sounds like and it feels like that you're living in a world where your life is always on the line, and the headline doesn't help.
I know that you're on the road traveling around the country. You were in Wisconsin, Minnesota over the weekend.
Right.
Does your comedy translate in different ways in different parts of this country?
Well, you know what's funny is when I look at my comedy, when I look at the book, one of the things I realized is stories are universal. Right? Our figures of speech are different. The way we speak, our accents are all different. You know, you say controversy, I say controversy, whatever it is. It's always going to change. But what I've learned, and genuinely the book has been one of my greatest gifts. There was a kid who came to one of my shows in St. Paul. In Minneapolis, in Minnesota, and he came and he couldn't come to the show, but he just wanted to come because he had read the book. And this is a young kid who grew up in America, and he said, "Hey, your life reminded me of my life." I was like, "But how? how did you grow up like I did? And he's like, no, but there were so many things that you felt that I felt. I grew up and I see my mom the same way and my family the same way. And so I've come to learn that if we can find things that connect us as human beings, you will find that many of us are on a similar journey. It's just we focus on the things that separate us more than the things that bring us together.
We are more alike in many ways than we are.
At the end of the day, we can always reach out to your gran for questions.
Oh, yeah, you genuinely can.
Trevor, thank you.
Taking Dave Chappelle to see your grandmother was hilarious.
Oh, thank you. That was a lot of fun. And again, she didn't know who he was.
Even better, of course. Yes. Thank you. And the paperback edition of Born a Crime is on sale tomorrow.
All right. So again, we have the old adage conversation that you're going to do. You have a more comfortability when you have a foreigner in your presence than if you dealt with somebody, even if they are ADOS, DOS, or BADOS, but if they don't come across any more, again, those who've seen the Malcolm X by CNN story, it talked about in Wikipedia that his beratement to white people was very harsh. Ain't that something? That the way, again, you want to write the rules the way it go and where it come, right? Funny, man. It's funny. But here it is. You had Trevor Noah, who's coming from South Africa, right? He was born, again, at a time in South Africa, again, the coloreds, right? He's a mixed, right? He was considered colored, and according to how they depicted in that video, he could be taken away because of his color, right? He's light skinned. He don't supposed to be with the Negroes, right? Everything white is right, black is back, get back, the whole thing, right? Brown stick around, yellow you mellow, that whole bullshit, right? So we see Trevor Noah is talking about, again, a book that he got that's out there called Born a Crime, right? So again, think about that. Again, laws and legislations about the ideology of people of mind, right? People who feel superior or feel like, again, they feel like everybody's against them. But when, again, you're the one doing so much, again, you write things in favor of yourself, and then it's damn you do or damn you don't, or the other person on the other end of it. So they have to find ways to how to fit in, right? Can't be just a natural order thing, because again, the way it's all constructed is non-natural. That's why the world is sick the way it is. So let's keep that shit 100. So Trevor Noah says about, the keep reheating that we see in blackface and from the governors and all that. Again, it's just basically to the people who that is affecting, right? That remembrance is the history of hurt, right? Right? History of hurt. And again, if you've seen the couple videos ago, when I gave the history of it, they said that there was 3 elements in blackface. There's a part of it there's a fear, there's an affection, right? Right? And there's that fear, again, as it said about black people coming together to take power, right? And it's a way to hide and mask oneself, right? Of the comfortability by mocking you, right? And so people believe that a conversation of race needs to take place. We beyond that. It's kind of like I was watching a show that they was having a live show, and they were talking about reparations, and there was people in there who were saying things that were not in for it because they had their ideal as to why it wouldn't manifest and all these other things. And I said, this treasonous talk. It's treasonous for anybody who is part of DOS to be saying what should not and could not be gotten. We are 500 plus years under the bondage still of slavery. There's never been no free here, right? You ain't been free. So a conversation, there's some things that you just pass, right? there was a allotted time for certain things to be said and done. You're beyond that time. You have to accelerate past that. The conversation don't need because everybody already know. We're not talking about people who brand new just getting into the game. We're talking about the people who can make the differences, the people who are in positions to make changes, already understand what the game is. There's no conversation need to be done. That's just stalling more time. Right? That's all that is. Conversation to, again, when you come to the goddamn emergency room and your ass is gunned up, is it time for them to sit there and have conversation with you, talking about, okay, what is your name, your address, what's your social security number, what's your mother's name? You got gunshots. Every motherfucker bleeding profusely from every damn where. Is this the time? Your name, what's your middle name, what's your social security number, what's your father's name, your maiden name, what city was you born? Is that the time? You passed that. That will come after the fact. You need healing. You need emergency room. You need surgery. You get what I'm saying? We beyond that bullshit of a goddamn conversation. Ain't no damn conversation. It's time to cure, surgery, expedite. Get some shit done. Then we could go back and have the conversation, because the conversation already know. That would just be the reason why you did what you did. You had to do the surgery because it's at a critical ass state. Ain't no need to talk. We need to get this shit done. But y'all was full of shit. That's just the bottom line. So thinking about ridding the problem, right? They think by, again, these symbolical firings and putting people on blast is somehow curing it. As Trevor Noah said, he said, well, shit, if that one motherfucker got the black face, how many other motherfuckers? And damn, that is Virginia. That is the home of the 400 years. It's seen ironically that they talking about Virginia so much. Is the ancestors? Is they bringing up that spirit? Are they telling you something? Right? And so the reason why you can't have that is because the fragility of mind of white folks. Matter of fact, did you heard the dude say, he said, well, you know, how was black people feel if they hearing white people telling the real truth about how they, what the fuck do you care? That's not for you. The point, if you're trying to heal and you're trying to come to Jesus moment, trying to have that come to Jesus moment, then you need to do whatever it takes to, you know, redeem yourself. Man, wait a minute. These people been beat for a long motherfucking time. Again, cool hand loot. What the fuck do you worrying about? They already been ragged out, drugged in a motherfucking car, drugged and hanged and lynched and drowned and dismembered and you name it, it's been done. Fuck you worrying about some words coming out of your mouth talking about you. No, you worrying about what you got to say. That's the only problem here. You worrying about what you feel and how you know what you got to come and give that come to Jesus moment. Well, if you don't do it, don't do it. You better remember everything that's being presented to this day and time is to help you to redeem you. You are the culprit. They are the victim. We are the victim. So if you think you're going to keep holding on, talking about what you worrying about the welfare, what we been, what we feel, you, what the fuck did you care? You ain't never showed you care. So stop the bullshit, man. Right? And that's the problem here. Everybody want to keep trying to bullshit. That day and time is over. Again, ain't no conversation. We in the emergency room. Either you going to save the life or you going to let them die. That's what it come down to. All right. Getting down. Matter of fact, since we're going to sit there and talk about the motherfucker from Virginia, might as well go ahead and play it, right? You don't mean no sense about it. Nothing. Might as well go and show it to you, right? Might as well go ahead and do it. So here we go. Let's get it.
All right, welcome back. This morning, Virginia's embattled governor says he is not going anywhere But now Governor Ralph Northam is facing even more scrutiny after new comments he made on race and slavery.
Yes, for his part, the Virginia Democrat says that navigating the blackface scandal has taught him a lot about white privilege. Have a listen.
I was born in white privilege, and that has implications to it, and it is much different the way a white person such as myself is treated in this country.
Did you not know that you were born into white privilege?
I knew I was, Ms. King, but I didn't realize really the powerful implications of that.
It's quite an admission there. CNN's Jessica Jean joins us now live from Richmond, Virginia. So Jessica, the governor also made comments about slavery that raised concern here. Tell us what he said here. I mean, it just seemed like another unforced error and a serious one.
Right. Well, good morning to you both. Yeah, he was giving his first televised interview to Gayle King, and a lot of his answers are raising some eyebrows. You just played that bit about the white privilege. He also was talking a little bit about Virginia's history, and this comment raised some eyebrows. Take a listen.
If you look at Virginia's history, we're now at the 400-year anniversary. Just 90 miles from here, in 1619, the first indentured servants from Africa landed on our shores in Old Point Comfort, what we call now Fort Monroe. And while
also known as slavery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you heard Gayle King there say also known as slavery, which is something that a lot of people are saying and asking this morning, so much so that the governor has now put out a statement to clarify his answer. I want to read you what he said. He said, during a recent event at Fort Monroe, I spoke about the arrival of the first Africans in Virginia and referred to them in my remarks as enslaved. A historian advised me the use of indentured was more historically accurate. The fact is, I'm still learning and committed to getting it right. So Jem and Poppy, here's the thing. We heard over and over from the governor again today in this interview that he sees this as a learning moment. He told the Washington Post over the weekend that he wants to help Virginia heal. He wants to focus on what he's calling race equity, that he really sees this as a moment where he can uniquely lead the state forward. But in interviews like this, other people are questioning, you know, if he's talking about white privilege and not really understanding it before, is he really in a position to do that? So that's where we are with the governor, who again reiterating no plans to resign right now.
Really legitimate questions and concerns about those comments. Jessica, thank you for the reporting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. It was supposed to play, and hold on, let me see if I can pull that up because there's supposed to be the article on that, and it didn't come up. So I'm assuming, let me see this. Let me do this in real time. Let me go ahead and pull this up right quick, y'all. Let me see if I can pull it up in real time. Pull it up in real time. Let's see if I can pull it up. Because it seemed crazy, right? You got to see that, and you wasn't supposed to see that, but it's okay. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to see that. All right, so let's see. All right, let's see. The horrible fate of Kasor, the first black man to be declared slave for life in America. You know I'm going to say that again. The horrible fate of John Kasor, the first black man to be declared slave for life in America. This story was done back in March of 2017, and this is how it reads. Black people in early America weren't slaves. After this lawsuit, they could be. The only date definitely connected to John Caser's life is this day in 1654 or 1655. It's not when he was born, when he achieved something, or when he died. It was when he became a slave. Caser was originally an indentured servant, which meant he was practically a slave in some senses. But what was bought or sold wasn't him. It was his contract of indentured, which obligated him to work for its holder for the period it set. At the end of that time, the indentured servants, who could be of any race, were considered legally free and sent out into the world. This might sound like a rough deal, but indentures were how the British colonizers who lived in what would be later become the United States managed to populate the land and get enough people to do the back-breaking work of farm crops like tobacco in the South. People who survived their period of indenture, many didn't, went on to live free lives in the colonies, often after receiving some kind of small compensation like clothes, land, or tools to help them set up. That was the incentive that caused many poor whites to indenture themselves and their families and move to the so-called New World. But Africans who were indentured were often captured and brought over against their will. That's what happened to the holder of Caser's indentured. Anthony Johnson. Johnson served out his contract and went on to run his own tobacco farm and hold his own indentured servants, among them Caser. At this time, the colony of Virginia had very few black people in it. Johnson was one of the original 20. After a disagreement about whether or not Caser's contract was lapsed, a court ruled in favor of Johnson, and Caser was the status of his indentured turned into slavery, where he, not his contract, was considered property. Caser claimed that he had served his indentured of 7 or 8 years and 7 more years on top of that. The court sided with Johnson, who claimed that Caser was his slave for life. So Caser became the first person to be arbitrarily declared a slave for life in the United States. An earlier case had ended with a man named John Punch being declared a slave for life as a punishment for trying to escape his indentured servitude. His fellow escapees, who were white, were not punished in this way. Of course, as Wesleyan University notes, the transatlantic slave trade from Africa to the Americas had been around for over a century already, originating around 1500. Slaves, usually captured and sold by other African tribes, were transported across the Atlantic to the Americas. The university blog notes, around 11 million people were transported between 1500 to 1850. Mostly to Brazil and the Caribbean islands. If they arrived in America, originally they became indentured servants. If they arrived elsewhere, they became slaves. Caser's story is particularly grim in hindsight. His slip into slavery would be followed by many, many other people of African descent who were declared property in what became the United States. It was a watershed moment in the history of institutional slavery. About 7 years later, Virginia made this practice legal for everyone. In 1661, by making it state law for any free white, black, or Indian to be able to own slaves along with indentured servants. Kyle writes, the steps from there to be a radicalized ideal of slavery wasn't a huge one. She writes, and by the time Johnson died in 1670, his race was used to justify giving his plantation to a white man rather than Johnson's children by his wife Mary. He was not a citizen of the colony, a judge ruled, because he was black. All right, so I had to go back and get that because I had set that up for that to get in here, so I had to go back and get it. So again, there you got the story there also of the, according to history, John Kasor was the first black man to be declared slave for life in America, right, according to them. And that was also in Virginia. Now, as you seen prior before that, the video again of the governor of Virginia, right, well, to ex soon to be, but again, according to him, he has enough white privilege to say he ain't going. He's singing public. We ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped. He's a bad boy for life, huh? He's saying he ain't going nowhere. And matter of fact, he sat down with J.L. King, right? And Oprah's man, Oprah's friend, right? And talked about how white privilege, and he come to recognize that he knew he had white privilege, right? But he didn't understand the real power of it. Now, how can you have white privilege and not understand the power or the magnitude? Matter of fact, the aristocrats, the families that come up out of Virginia, right? I mean, most of them families probably going all the way back. Matter of fact, when you look at the brother that's behind him, Fairfax, the country, you got a country, Fairfax, Virginia, right? Which means must have been part of, coming up to, his family is some slaves that came up to Fairfax plantation, right? Or he might be, might be progenitor off some kind of bloodline, never know, right? So that Virginia stuff is kind of funny. It's been all up in the news lately. I'm trying to tell you. Ancestors talking, y'all. The blackface, Virginia, all this stuff is coming up, and y'all are acting as if y'all not getting it. They're speaking to you. Huh? It's time to hold people accountable. What, you gonna let it get by, and then they gotta wait for either 50 years or another 100 years? You at the right time, at the right place to be out here to talk on these platforms. That's what they're telling you. So he said that he misspoke, or he was unforced by Gayle King's questioning, that those things fell out about his white privilege. That was something he was never supposed to say publicly. And let me tell you something. The only reason why white folks who end up getting the axe is because they say things that they can be proven and said publicly. If you can't prove it, it ain't been said, and you can't hold them accountable. So they will go ahead and sacrifice because you were stupid enough to get caught saying it, or you slipped saying it, and then they let it happen. The axe fall where it shall be, right? So we see that this person from Virginia, who in his own mouth talked about 1619, and then says slyly, as again going back in some videos that I did about the shorty that was in the School of Texas, that said that he was reading in his sociology class, and the term about African Americans being workers. Huh? Remember that? When the brother that called his mama said, "Hey, mama, I didn't know that we was workers," and right? And he brought the book home, and then she just happened to be a person who was a teacher and part of the again, those books have to be approved, right? There's an association for that, right? And she brought it to the attention, and then they want to say, "Oh no, that shouldn't have been there, and it's gonna take a little while for that to get out because there's so many books." But again, just like they're saying with these companies, they could do the shit. It's already damaged because it's already, enough people done said it, and then to take it back, it's too late. It's already been permeated in the minds. So now you got people thinking workers, that they came here. Now he says indentured, huh? Indentured. Now I just gave you the story about John Castor and that whole terminology of being classified as a indentured when you colored is different than being indentured when you're white, because he being black he could be slave for life, even though he originated supposedly as an indentured, but then got it, snatched from him, and then he was the first one in the history of this country to be considered slave for life. So here's a governor who comes from the state that knows the history about what took place in 1619, is mixing up indentured with slavery again to soften it, to try to take away the magnitude of what it really is, and not classify as slavery, because again, that's so wrong. But a lot of them are hiding from the fact that it was legally, it was lawfully. Legally, lawfully is only what it says in the law, but they can, again, marijuana was illegal, they can become legal, right? So is it wrong or is right? It's only according to what you say. Again, isn't that what the dictionary say? The definition of dictionary is what we say. The etymology of the word means what we say. The origin of it is what we say. You say slavery was legally, but that don't mean that it was legal. You made it to be legal, but it was against humanity. And so now that you understand, that people understand and they're reading and they have the information, you don't want the stigmatization of mind on your ass. So now you want to say indentured. Well, check this out. Those who can prove that they're part of the BADOS, the DOS, the ADOS, ain't no way you're going to be able to go back and find out whether it was indentured or not. They're just going to be of the bloodline. And guess what? You're going to have to write that check eventually, right? You're going to have to write the check. Because he said, he even being deflective and said, well, the historian told me that it would be better to say indentured. See, play on word semantics. You want to say indentured when you mean slavery. Slavery and indentured is two different things. Slavery is perpetual. Indentured had a time frame. And there's a package, land, business, affiliation, fraternization, association. But it ain't not like slavery. You got nothing. So they try to stall that. Why is he in a position to say about white supremacy? I mean, he did. Folks Pod said that about the indentured. Maybe he didn't know what he was talking about when the white supremacy made. And that's what it is. White folks really don't know what. Get the fuck out of here. You know exactly what the fuck it is. Stop it. You know what it is. But y'all playing. That game is over with, man. There ain't no need to talk about it. It's about be about it. Do what y'all need to do. Motherfuckers is on the goddamn, coming in through the emergency room on a gurney, bleed profusely, damage everywhere you need, cold red, cold blue. We need to fix this shit. If not, you heard what Chris Hodges said. Shit, you on the countdown to the demise of this country based on classical history. He said it. Maybe a lot of time has already passed. Maybe it passed. So, since that being the case, we're going to have one more. And again, being part of that ADOS, BADOS, and ADOS, that's a special classification. It doesn't embed everybody who is outside of that. There's a special claim they have due to the simple fact of the ancestry they are part of. And so people want to anybody just want to come on and, it's for everybody. For everybody. Yeah, but how's it for, well, never mind. Let me play this first. And give another PSA. Let me get one more PSA in here. We get to the end of the show because I'm already at the 2 hour something mark, right? So we're going to get this and get it in. Let's get it in. Get one more in. Let's see if we get one more in. Let's get it in.
And a question for all of the candidates as they're getting into the primary, Karun, is how do they take on Donald Trump, right? And the Mayor Pete Buttigieg approach to Trump versus the Elizabeth Warren approach to President Trump, which is ignore him or take him on directly. Which approach do you think wins out in the primary?
I mean, this is the big question for the Democratic Party, right? Which way are they going to go? They're not exactly a completely cohesive group. I don't think that you can completely ignore Donald Trump. He is everywhere. He is on television every 5 seconds. He is doing things that make the news all the time. So to pretend like you're not actually addressing him in this election is to kind of ignore where the gut of the Democratic Party is after the heartbreak of 2016 that they had. But, you know, to completely go further than you can actually substantiate necessarily by saying, oh, he's maybe not going to be a free person. I mean, the Mueller investigation has not gotten that far. The Democratic leaders in the House do not want to talk impeachment right now. So that may be just kind of throwing too much red meat out there. And clearly there's some sort of a happy middle, but we don't know who that's going to be or what it's going to sound like, because it's going to depend a lot on the candidate. And at this point, they're all making their pitches out there and seeing what sticks with which part of the base they hope to claim. They're not yet at the point where they're going to have to start answering, you know, and challenging each other. And that's when we're going to get to see, you know, really where they can kind of split the party. Yeah.
Yeah, and also too much red meat. That is a line you will never hear. That is not a philosophy that Donald Trump adheres to. That's for sure. I do want to ask you about about Kamala Harris. During a radio interview this morning, she was asked about people questioning that she's not black enough, and I found it was important how she answered it and what she said. Let me play for you what she said.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division among us. Mm-hmm. And so we need to recognize when we're being played.
What do you think of her response?
You know, I think it's a good response, and I think it's something she's going to have to answer more so in terms of politics, right? I mean, on the one hand, the question of blackness is about sort of where did you grow up and who your parents were, but it's also a question of how black are your politics, right? How well do they represent African Americans? And I think so her record as a prosecutor, I think when sometimes people talk about how black she is, in some ways they mean her record as a prosecutor and whether or not that is in line with what's best for African Americans, because we know about the disproportionate ways in which the criminal justice system has affected African Americans. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a question that she's going to get. You hear a lot of sort of Twitter buzz on this in some ways, with people questioning whether or not she's just performing blackness. Is she really black? Sure, she went to Howard, but she married a white man, which I think she also addressed in that interview as well, and essentially said she married who she fell in love with. So, you know, this will be a question that she'll have to answer, as we know that Obama did as well.
I find it fascinating, though, when you look across the Democratic primary field, how candidates and people interview them, no one's shying away from any of these topics, though. From Kamala to Amy Klobuchar with the stories about her, to Pete Buttigieg, generational. He's, you know, fashions himself a generational candidate, not shying away from his sexuality at all. This is a fascinating moment to watch play out. It's good to see you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, so there's an article I have to pull up again because, again, I think what happened is something I did. So let me go ahead and pull it up in real time, right? Let me go and do what I do in real time like I did last time. Okay, that was it right there. Hold on. Do it, pull up in real time. All right, put it up in real time. Let me pull it up. That's it right there. There we go. Come on. All right, so that boy, that's what I'm saying. They making me who I am, right? So let's go ahead and play it for you. Here you go. Harris takes on questions about her blackness. You know I'm going to say that again. Harris takes on questions about her blackness. This story was done February 11, 2019, coming from the CNN News, and this is how it reads. Senator Kamala Harris directly confronted critics Monday who questioned her black heritage, her record incarcerating minorities as a prosecutor, and her decision to marry a white man. In an interview with the Breakfast Club hosts DJ Envy and Charlemagne the God that aired Monday, the show's host asked the California Democrat to address a series of derogatory memes that have circulated on social media. One of the hosts cited a meme that said Harris is not African American because her parents were immigrants born in India and Jamaica, and she spent her high school years in Canada. So, I was born in Oakland and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada, Harris responded with a laugh. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack Obama. This is not new to us, and so I think that we know what they are trying to do. They are trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division. And so we need to recognize when we're being played, Harris said. One of the hosts followed up by asking Harris how she responds to people who question the legitimacy of your blackness. I think they don't understand who black people are. Harris replied, I'm not going to spend my time trying to educate people about who black people are, because right now, frankly, I'm focused on, for example, an initiative that I have that is called the LIFT Act, that is about lifting folks out of poverty, she said, detailing her plan for a $6,000 tax credit for middle-class Americans. I'm black, and I'm proud of being black, she said at a later point in the interview. I was born black, I will die black, and I'm not going to make excuses for anybody because they don't understand. Harris, a former California State Attorney General, says she makes no apologies for pursuing violent criminals to keep communities safe, but added that she wished she could have done more to effect change from the inside. Pressed by the host of the Breakfast Club to address some of the most searing criticisms of her record as a prosecutor, she was asked what she had done as a prosecutor to hurt black people and whether there were decisions that she regretted. I regret not having done enough, said Harris, who was elected district attorney of San Francisco before becoming California's attorney general. If I had been there longer, if I had more in terms of bandwidth, I would have done more around creating initiatives. For example, in the juvenile justice system, that was something that was always on my agenda to focus on, and I didn't get around to that. But she noted her work on recidivism and reentry initiatives as a prosecutor, as well as her work with Senate colleagues to reform the nation's bail system. She acknowledged that some voters will reject her candidacy simply because she was a prosecutor. There are some people who are just going to say, we don't want prosecutors, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to convince them, she said. Harris said the criminal justice system is deeply flawed, but makes no apologies for pursuing violent criminals. Let's not buy into the myth that black folks don't want law enforcement. We do, Harris said. We don't want excessive force. We don't want racial profiling. But certainly if somebody burglarizes my house, I'm going to call the police. The California senator added that she believes some of the glaring problems within the system could be tackled from within. There is no question that this system is deeply flawed, that there is systematic racism in the system. We have a problem with mass incarceration, in particular black and brown men, she said. No mother or father in America should have to sit down when their son turns 12 and starts having the talk with the child about how he may be stopped, arrested, or killed because of the color of his skin, there's no question. She also highlighted her support for legalizing marijuana. She said she has smoked a joint, to be specific, adding with a laugh, "I did in hell." I think it gives a lot of people joy, she says, and we need more joy. The junior senator from California was also asked about criticism she had faced on social media for marrying a white man. "Look, I love my husband, and he happens to be the one that I chose to marry because I love him, and that was that moment in time. That's it," Harris said. "And he loves me," she added, laughing. Once again, it's on, right? So you got again Kamala Harris, who again, for those who didn't see, there's an interview of her on the Breakfast Club, right? With Charlamagne and DJ Envy and Angela, right? And for those who didn't see, you can go see the entirety of that and things that had been stated in there, right? Now, again, you might say, well, Mr. Boydmine, why did you talk anything about the indentured John Castle? I am. I'm going to use it for this part right here. So here it is, a person whose questionability about her blackness. Now, again, everybody wants to downplay the fact that people, again, DOS, ADOS, BADOS, are out here speaking in advocacy as into the specifications of differentiating not as family members, but the distinctness of the claim of the lineage to the land. And so everybody's trying to make it like we don't know what the hell we talking about. Oh, yes, we know what the fuck we talking about, right? Especially I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so let's get it straight. If you come from Haiti and then become a citizen in the United States, you are a Haitian American. If you come from any of the islands and come here, your hyphenation is the island you came from and American. If you come from Jamaica to the United States and become a citizen, you are a Jamaican American. How is it that people don't understand by having the colloquialism of calling yourself African American that you are cloaking yourself in with the damn people? And I mean that with no disrespect, folks, because I'm part of us too. Cloaking yourself in with us who are the people in this land who are that. How do you get the claim of that? And say we, when we say you not black, we're not talking about black as into the African so-called family. We're talking about the distinction in this land called the United States. And if your father is Jamaican and your mother is Indian, what makes you African American? Just because you was grown and went into daycare and stayed with somebody who might have been DOS don't qualify you as black. Because when you went home, what did they teach you what about? If your father didn't live with you, what part about you is black? You was a rental black. You went in somewhere, learned and seen, and telling the story. When my mother worked, well, shit, only 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. What part did you not go home to? And matter of fact, when you went back, it said, oh, because when you went back to your mama's country, they're going to classify you black because, again, in that country, it's a caste system, right? So yours about color. So you're going to tell us black people we don't know nothing about color in our own goddamn country. But if you went to your mama country, you couldn't be nothing but that. But when you come here, you still black, but you got a hyphenation. Who is your father? You are a byproduct of your father, right? Of your father. You are the seed of your father. So you are a Jamaican American. Now we talking about black, we mean black in this land. The black Americans. The distinct class of that who came from the goddamn... Let me stop it, y'all. Because I don't mean to say that. Because I got much honor and respect for that. But again, this is bullshit. Somebody sitting here talking because you thinking you smoked weed and you inhaled, or you went to a HBCU that makes it, and you can say Oakland you was birthed in. Ain't got nothing to do with the damn bloodline. Nothing to do with it. Huh? Ain't got nothing to do with that. And yet you want to keep trying to claim that and try to talk to like we stupid. And they just got a problem because I'm a prosecutor. You're goddamn right, because we the motherfuckers that's always going in the goddamn courtroom. So a prosecutor ain't defending us. A prosecutor is doing what it's doing. Prosecuting. Huh? You prosecuting. Just crazy how you people from these other places come in here and shitting on our goddamn ancestors and like that shit don't mean nothing. That we talking, like we fucking stupid. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. You wouldn't get shit from us. God damn it. And you ain't gonna sit here talking to us like we don't know what the fuck we talking about. Question of your blackness, of her blackness. That's bullshit. You're Jamaican. You're not black American. And just because your ass live around don't make your ass one. It's about a bloodline. I'm playing and bullshitting with us like that shit. That shit ain't, fuck out of here with all that bullshit. That's a lot of bullshit. It's a lot of bullshit. And you know it's a lot of bullshit. So now what you're going to do is trying to go around. You say there's voices in the community, strong voices in the community who bring a dissension and hatred. Get the fuck. Wait, what? You in our goddamn country. You in our goddamn country. We built this shit. You ain't built shit. Matter of fact, you know the story that I had just did prior to that, right? Do you got this in your family? The black early Americans weren't slaves. They said by lawsuit they could be, right? When I talk about John Kaser, them, there was indentions and then became, are you part of the 20 that came here in 1619? Are you part of any of the people who are part of the plantations building this? Do your family come out of the Civil War? Do your family doing the fight with the damn civil rights? Oh, your mama was in there out there talking. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. That you equivalent to me. You equivalent to my family. You get out of here with that shit. You and everybody else like that goddamn shit. Y'all full of shit. You motherfuckers won't even fight in your own goddamn land. Come over here trying to motherfucking acting as if like you entitled to some shit. You know what you entitled to? A motherfucking trip back to the goddamn place that your origin or where the fuck you came from. You ain't getting shit here. We agreed to build a goddamn wall. Motherfucker, you can get rid of them motherfuckers for all my care. You get rid of them motherfuckers. Because you in here disrespectful as shit. 400 years and you niggas still talking with goddamn disrespect. We already dealing with this white motherfucker and y'all in here doing the same ass shit. Fuck out of here. Man, fuck it. I ain't got nothing else to say. That's it for this shit here. This is Black Man. Listen, Black Minds News. Black Man, this is Mr. Blows Your Mind. Fuck that. We ain't finna let these motherfuckers come in here talking to us any kind of motherfucking kind of way. It ain't going down like that no goddamn more. Matter of fact, we're gonna end the show. I want to thank you for those who want this damn show. Hit that like button, dislike, whatever the ones you want to do. Until the next show, goddammit. John Henry Clark said, we ain't got no goddamn friend. It's just us. And you better recognize that shit. Everybody come in this country thinking they finna come over here and take something from our goddamn ancestors. Fuck that shit. White motherfuckers owe us, and every other motherfucker try to come in here and undermine us. We got to stand on that shit. You ain't doing that shit. Fuck out of here.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on, and it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they've died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news for the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saved 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. 3. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to
make me do anything like trick.
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptist. We're not brutalized because we're Methodist. We're not brutalized because we're Muslim. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga, and if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true. I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles for it. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you.